Let's call the meeting to order and begin with the pledge to the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. We have before us agenda, Supervisors, any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Move to approve.
Motion by Moore,
I'll second.
second by Rick, to approve the agenda as printed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We have minutes of June 1st. Any additions or corrections to those?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Motion by Rick.
Second.
Second by Moore. All those in favor of minutes being approved for June 1, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. 8:35, any comments from the public? It's not on the agenda. Anybody want to say anything? It's not going to be discussed later. Okay. Moving along, see Paul's not here yet, so we'll go in here and take what can we take, Peggy? Authorize.
The general justice isn't here yet, yeah, the loan agreement.
We're going to approve and authorize a loan agreement providing for issuance of $800,000 general bonds, Series 2015A. Peggy, you and Rick are kind of up on top of this. Can you tell us about what's going on here?
Yeah, and did I get you guys copies of the actual note document? What he sent is just, these are the minutes for the issuance of notes. And it just says that, the first one, resolution approving and authorizing a loan agreement and providing for the issuance of $800,000 general fund notes, Series 215A. And it spells out, the years and the principal amount, and got kind of a schedule on it. The county auditor is designated as the registrar and paying agent for the notes. The notes bear interest at the rate of 2.48% per annum. Accrued interest on the note shall be paid semi-annually on the first day of June and December in each year, commencing December 1, 2015, and continuing until maturity on June 1, 2030. The county reserves a right to prepay part or all of the notes in case, for some reason, one year we had some extra cash balance, we could do that. So, and then the actual form of the general fund note.
No penalty for prepayment.
No penalty for prepayment. And then you go back to this other sheet here, you just sign on here and there, and I think that's pretty much it. We don't have anything for the equipment portion because we're going to be getting some quotes for that. So this is just the building portion.
Building only.
Yeah, building only.
Okay, our job here this morning is to authorize loan arrangements for $800,000.
And you did have a letter from not from Larry Davidson, I hear Davidson.
Dorsey.
Yeah, well, it was actually Davidson from Mr. Maloney.
Oh, okay.
And he kind of spelled out, what it all means, and
I know we've been working on this a long time, just not stepping through the hurdles now, I think.
yeah, you're going to. And it actually is gonna be called Resolution Number 2015-15, after reading the document. I saw that they need that in resolution form.
You don't need the A?
2015-15.
-15, okay.
Double 15s.
Yeah, I just ended up from it that way.
15 resolutions are
Mhm.
All righty. I'll, make the motion to approve the issuance of the $800,000 general fund notes, Series 2015-15 then.
Which includes resolution 2015-15?
Yep.
Okay.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have before us motion to approve resolution 2015-15 for issuance of $800,000 bond. Other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Right here, real close to that, let's take the next item here. Rick has worked real hard on this, he and Peggy. And we have a resolution here, action item, and authorizing Rick to sign inspection reports related to documents of law enforcement remodel center. I think it'd be a good deal if Rick would sign off on these, because he's been a contractor, he's been out of work on. So I urge Rick to pass this motion.
We're gonna have every 2 weeks, we're gonna meet with the contractor, the engineer, and get a progress report. and, an update as to how the progress is going, and so I figured it'd be best for me to do that, because I'm there at the meeting and take care of things.
That'd be great. I'd make a motion to authorize Rick to sign the inspection reports and related documents for law enforcement.
We have a motion second to authorize Rick to sign the inspection reports. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Paul, next in order here.
Good morning. Got a couple of easy ones, I think. First order of business is approve application for construction on county right-of-way for Midland Power, for relocating overhead power lines along the pin between 220 and 225th Street. This is part of Mid-American's MP3 project, because Mid-American's on the west side of the road where the former Humboldt REC lines were, and they have to move to the other side of the road. So there's some poles being shuffled to the other side, just as we did earlier up on the far north end of Penn, up on the north end of the drag strip road. They had to relocate power there too, now they have to do the same thing on the south side. We've reviewed them, they had some stakes out there, they're gonna confirm right away, and that's the only comments we had for this on.
Alright.
Good.
Okay, I entertain a motion to approve the application for construction right away by Midland Co-op.
I'll make the motion for the approval of the application right away.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, are those in favor of approving the application for Midland Co-op to do construction and relocation right away, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Next order of business is I would like to approve propane contract for fiscal year 16. We have from W&H Co-op 12,500 gallons at 95 cents. And I watched it earlier, it started a little higher a couple months ago, but we weren't even done with winter yet. It came down some to 95. There may be some down potential, but I think the up potential is, the odds are it's gonna go up more than down, and I will be comfortable with locking in 95-cent propane.
This will get us into the first of the year ways, probably.
Excuse me?
This will get us into the first of the year.
Right, I think,
propane.
last year we booked a 12.5, and, I think we were into the second, end of February somewhere when all, on claims when we did, and at that time, the cash price was cheaper than the book price in the end of February was too. But it wasn't $3.35 or whatever, and this is a good hedge against...
$1.80, wasn't it? 81 or 2, something like that.
This is a good hedge
Yeah.
against the East Coast having a tough winter next year. If they have a tough winter, then our propane usually flies.
I'll make a motion to approve the 1,250 gallon contract purchase price, 95 cents.
I'll second.
12,000.
500, yeah,
Very good.
12,500.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the contract for fiscal 16 propane. Other discussion?
Do you,
Yes,
just
we have
pay
a
the...
second. Yes, second.
I had a second. Do you pay this up front, or is
Nope,
it just
this
10
is
cents down or something like that?
Nothing.
Just sign the paper?
Nothing down,
Oh,
sign the
okay.
paper.
And we only use half that, that's all we pay for?
We're locked in at 12.
No, you gotta use the gallons.
And we didn't open the doors much last year. I mean, if we have frozen chunks of, snow equipment in there, the 12.5 will be gone in January easily.
All right.
But are we done with winter? No. Global warming, remember?
Okay, those in favor of the motion approving the contract for propane, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
And I'll be back with the working the right of way. I got Mid-Americans instead of Midland Co-op.
Okay.
And we are getting auditor's office mail at our place.
Okay.
And I'll get a signature for that, I'll get it later.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. We got a couple
Wouldn't
minutes
take
here
long.
before we go to drainage.
As soon as you get out the door, it's like, oops.
Did you get a chance to review the claims? Anybody gone through those?
Yeah, I've gone through the claims. The claims are $290,690.67, and drainage of $30,949.64.
Okay, is that a motion, Rick?
Yes.
Okay, you hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mort, to approve the claims as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Peggy, do we need to be in drainage to just transfer of drainage?
No,
We can do that right now then.
Yep. We found out there was a joint drainage ditch that we have with Webster County that was paid out of the incorrect ditch, and the only way to fix it then is to pay from one ditch to the other one, back and forth. It's in the amount of $22,939.09, and it's from, DD number Humboldt Webster 3 and 9 to DD number, Humboldt Webster 2 and 3. And this was clear, but this goes clear back into some, work that we did back in 2000 and, I saw that date on here, 2007.
7 or 8, probably.
7, 8. Yep. So, but this will help Webster County get their books straightened out, and
Yeah.
Just a matter of transferring from one account to the other, is it?
right.
I'll make a motion for the drainage transfer.
Okay, motion by Rick,
I'll second it.
second by Jerry, to approve the transfer as indicated by Peggy. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, we got to go into drainage here at, 8:45. I think we got time to do our committee reports before we get to drainage. That's the only thing left on the agenda. So, Jerry, what did you do?
I didn't have, I was on drainage this week. I don't have anything for, meetings.
Monday morning, I was at the LEC, basic utilities and things, and then, Friday afternoon, I was at a pre-construction meeting at the LEC also, meeting with Woodruff and the engineers and all of the subcontractors that'll be working there, kind of laying out the timeline and schedules and parking, and, there might be times when they might have to close portions of the road, Fifth Avenue, just to allow equipment in and out, and, we're looking for good cooperation with the city with that. So there'll be a little minor inconvenience for the community when we have to close the road on certain days, especially when they do the excavation and possibly the masonry work, because they'll be bringing in lots of forklifts and things like that, so. I think, got a good start to it, and hopefully start throwing dirt before too long.
When do you think Dean's gonna have to move his equipment, move his office across the...
They're doing it right now.
Right now. Into emergency management?
Yeah,
How many desks did he end up taking? A couple?
I think 3.
Okay.
Jeannie and Dean's, and he's gonna have a desk for the deputies there, and the city officials are gonna move into the, back of the fire station. There's a break room back there where the police officers for the city are gonna use, and it'll be kinda inconvenient for 3-4 months, but it's what we gotta do. I think it's the best solution for everybody to have them that close.
We got a couple more chairs, more people.
More chairs.
We got some more chairs in here, if you like them. We got a couple over there, wait, 2 or 3?
That's all I had.
too. You also reported that the building, the little concrete building was all set.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The radio equipment building is set in place, and,
Looks nice.
yeah, that's gonna be good. It's gonna be a nice, secure facility for the equipment, and keep it air conditioned and watertight, and
Yeah. Put up a
so
fence around it.
it should help boost the deputies' radio signal in the county, so when they get out at the far edges, they don't have problems.
Peggy Elkins had a couple meetings on Wednesday, 8:30 in the morning down at City Hall. Aaron Burnett and I worked with building families on approving the grant applications from the previous year. And then that afternoon, we came back and had a daycare meeting. We're still kicking around that, trying to get daycare set up for the county. It looks like it might progress a little farther. We're looking very seriously at the old middle school now, part of that, so may flow. We hope so anyway. Keep you posted. Okay, I think I'm going to drainage. Do I hear a motion to go to drainage?
So moved.
Motion by Mort,
I'll second.
second by Rick to go to drainage. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are in drainage.
Okay.
Thank you, we are here. Now we get into the fun stuff.
Yeah.
That pad get all the way around?
I got a pad going around, yellow pad here.
Maybe these guys need it up here yet?
Anthony, could you give Brad a call and see what the deal is, why we never got this contract?
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, okay, well, I'll get back to him a little later then. Get done here.
Start with you.
There's one going. Oh, he's got it going around.
Got one going.
It's all going around, we're starting it.
Oh.
Just need these guys back there.
He said that there's
It's so efficient.
let him know that about that one. Said it was pretty good.
Okay, all right, I'll let him know. We're gonna talk about the attorney here after this meeting, and then we'll,
Where is your-
Contract for the abatement.
oh, did he?
So,
Okay.
I forwarded those to him, so they should. be
Rick, the
working
first
on
thing we have this morning on the agenda is DD2 Main Lateral 1 reclassification here. Public
Yes.
comment.
Yes.
Explain this.
What I'd like to just give a brief explanation on how we approach this. I'll use the map up here, and then there were quite a few objections filed, and you see a lot of public here that you'll want to get comments from. So, you're all familiar with the project, I would say by now. I have a map up here. It's gonna be a little hard for you to see some of the lines, but I'm just gonna point out a few things. The blue line represents the outside watershed boundary of this district. And you can also see this is Gilmore, and we get a portion of Gilmore in the project drainage area. I calculated how much area was in Gilmore compared to the ag ground. Gilmore represents about 2% of the drainage area of this district. So the ag lands represent about 98% of the district. We concentrated on the ag ground first. We use soils for basis to start from on determining benefit. Some soils need the drainage more than others, so it works out as a good factor to start with. When a district is strictly ag ground, we use a point range of from 0 to 100 points an acre, with 100 being the land getting the most benefit. Now, when it involves a city with residential property and commercial property, we apply a factor to reduce the ag ground considerably. What we typically end up with then on most of these that have towns in them, ag ground is from 0 to 10 points an acre, residential ground is from like 25 to 40, and commercial is like 45 to 90 points an acre. There is a commercial piece in Gilmore that's 100% concrete, hard surface. That one ended up 100 points an acre. Completely runs off, drains onto somebody else. There's some ag ground that's very low. Clarion soils is one I refer to a lot. That has some slope to it, doesn't need the drainage near as much as some of the other soils. They might be down, when we're going 0 to 10, they might be down in the 2 points an acre range, so a big variation. There are, I think it's 3 parcels in Pocahontas County that were annexed in. Early on, we applied a huge factor to the ag ground to get it down to the 0 to 10 points an acre. We did not apply that to the Pocahontas parcels. That has to be changed. So those parcels will be reduced drastically. You have some options with that Pocahontas ground. The board went to drainage attorney to see how to handle this. The decision was made that an acceptable way to do this was to annex them, but not make it a joint district. It would then be the responsibility of the Humboldt supervisors to watch out for the Pocahontas properties also. The property owners could petition to make it a joint district, but you'd have just a few acres, and then you'd always have to have a joint meeting. It's a lot better if the Humboldt board can watch out for the interests of those parcels in Pocahontas County. Again, I look for this hearing to be continued, which means they'll set a time and date to continue it, because of the objections, and there'll probably be some verbal statements made we'll have to analyze. I look for that to happen. give us some time to go through everything. Before you leave here today, if that happens, they'll have a date and time set, so you know, so that you can come back. This project, had two different areas, basically. You can see the green line over to the right here, that's the open ditch. We improved the main from that open ditch through that first mile. That was part of the main. From that point, we followed what is branch I, which goes north, mostly north here, for a short distance. We continued it all the way to north of the highway, north of Highway 3. Everybody helped pay for that lower part of the main, everybody involved in the watershed. That was part of their expense, of everybody's. On lateral I, just the people drained by lateral I paid in that. That catches Gilmore, and most of the Gilmore that's in the watershed also help pay for I. So the people on I are paying more than the people on the old main, because the people on the old main, if they want someday to improve that, that's gonna be theirs. The people in lateral I will not help pay for that at all. So, we reduced everybody drained by the main of 2 for future improvements, taking those into account. The ag ground I mentioned is mostly on soils. The residential ground, we started a point range, and then we adjusted up or down based on how much hard surface there is on the property. Same with commercials. We started at a higher value, and then adjusted it up or down depending on the hard surface in the area. And that's where I mentioned the one property that was 100% concrete, all runoff, somebody else had to deal with the water, they got 100 points per acre. Now, what you run into in projects like this, my address is Wallingford. I'm very familiar with small towns. Individual lots with nothing on them do not have a very high value. So the assessment feels high on something like that. Now, part of the discussion is gonna be, should there be adjustments on the town ones? And again, the board is the review board for this kind of thing, taking into account comments, having us check things to verify what's happening with properties, and then they will make adjustments before the report is finally approved. So, the input is important, the objections are important, and the review of all of those are important.
Hey, Rick, when you make that Pocahontas County, does that change everybody else
Okay.
go up a little bit and they go down?
Dollar-wise, yes. Here's how 2 different drainage attorneys have answered that for me, because I've had that same question. The benefit of the other parcels does not change. Their points stay the same. Because the dollars are spread a little differently, their dollar amount would go up a small amount. But the benefit of the individual properties do not change. Same points per acre, same acres. So the drainage attorneys are saying that doesn't warrant a new publication, going through all that expense. You make the adjustments you deem necessary to make, and then move on. If it's all said and done, you've made your comments, they've made adjustments, you're not happy with it, there is a process to file district court, and they have to hear it in a very short time. It's usually a very straightforward presentation. We haven't had to go through that, but it's bound to happen sometime, where the landowner makes their appeal and states the reasons why they think it's too much or whatever. We present how it was done, and the courts then decide if there should be adjustments. So there is a procedure through the courts if you're unhappy with it, once we go through all this.
Okay, we're talking about DD2 main lateral I. Public comments, concerns, anybody want to throw in something for the benefit of the operation? This is the time to do it.
If I tear all my shit down, will it go down?
If
You know, if I tear my buildings down, tear the cement out, it'll go down?
It can be adjusted, and they can do spot adjustments, yeah. If it's grass compared to hard surface, it'd be less. Yeah. it's strictly benefit. There's been some questions asked before the meeting, how does value affect it? Well, the value doesn't enter in. The fact that farm ground can raise crops and raise money, does that figure in? No, it doesn't figure in. It's, benefit, and with residential or commercial, the hard surface makes a big difference. It can nearly double it based on hard surface.
So basically, like if you have a big shed that sheds water, that's considered hard surface.
Yes, correct.
More comments, concerns? Yes.
I'm thinking about, you talked about the amount of concrete that's covered.
Mhm.
Now, there's very little concrete covered in Gilmore City, very little. And, I've also got a report here, which was a cost estimate of the whole thing. And when this thing began, everybody talked about cost per acre. That's all we ever heard of. It's gonna be so much per acre. And, the projected cost on a 1-inch drainage tile over the whole district was, over $4 million. And on the half-inch drainage tile, or the coefficient, was only $3 million. Well, anyway, after we get the grants, which was, $2,134, that's according to the figure that you gave me.
Mhm.
Okay, there's a net balance left of $961,000 to be paid by the people in the district. Well, after I add up a few figures, I find out that Gilmore City is paying probably about $200,000 into this project. And the balance is going, we're just paying a fourth of the cost of the whole project is what we're paying. Now, the end result is, some of the farms are paying way less than what the estimate was. The estimated cost per acre, I think, was about $250 an acre.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of these farms, they had drainage wells on them, they've got a tile run through, they can drain their land, there's open intakes down at the end of it, and they're running about $150 an acre. Now we come back to Gilmore City, and a lot of people ask, well, what's it gonna cost us in Gilmore City? I said, well, the whole thing is based on area. And the area of Gilmore City, I'm guessing, I thought it was, I had guessed at 3%, you said it was 2%, so it's still lower.
Yeah.
So, for a bill of, that Gilmore City is paying for only 2% of the area, we're paying probably $200,000 or more into this project. Now, does that sound like that's fair?
Yeah, and I didn't add up Gilmore costs, but yeah, so I'm not doubting your word at all, but no, it feels high. Yeah.
Well, I don't feel high, I know it's high, and you know it's high.
It's high, okay, yeah.
So what do? We have to sit there and pay?
Well, no, that's what the purpose of this meeting is, and the continue meeting would be for, is to make your feelings known and why you think it's high. That was a great summation. That is a great summation that's understandable, and for the board to be able to act on, any adjustments based on that and other input we'll get. No, that was very, very well done. Good summation.
Well, and the thing is, right now, the people in Gilmore City are really getting hit hard. So, now, Gilmore City itself, they're assessing them about $95,000, just for the streets, is what it says.
Mhm.
Well, who's gonna pay for that $95,000? It's the same people that have already been taxed once.
Yes.
And now they're gonna turn around, you've got a lot of tax, wait till you pay that, and it's what you're paying now is a little bit of what you're gonna pay.
That's true.
And then the same thing that has happened, I asked the clerk the other day, I said, who's gonna pay for this? I said, will this just be the people in the district? He said, yeah, I think so. Well, I asked the city clerk of Gilmore City, I said, who's gonna pay for this $95,000? Well, it'll be on the property tax. over the whole city. So that includes the people over on Pocahontas side too. So here we are, we've got half the people in Gilmore City paying for this drainage district over in Humboldt County.
Okay, now I'm not sure I follow the Pocahontas relationship.
Because, the tax will be assessed over the whole town, not just on the east half.
Okay.
The cost for this, so the people on the Pocahontas side are gonna have to help pay this tax.
Oh,
So here, we're paying, the Pocahontas people, whether they realize it or not, but they're gonna be paying quite a chunk of this tax.
because they have property in Gilmore that's in Pocahontas County.
See, we're in a little bit unusual situation in Gilmore City.
Mhm.
We not only sit in the middle of, two counties, but we also sit right on the center line of two watersheds.
Yeah.
So we've got half of Gilmore City draining into Pocahontas County and part of it into Humboldt County.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different situation.
Yes.
But I think after it's said and done, I think we're paying about 10 times more than we should be.
I wouldn't put a number on it yet myself, but...
Well, I'm not putting a number on it either, but from just simple mathematics and adding up a few figures, that's what it comes up to.
That's good summary, very good.
Part of Humboldt County, the watershed goes in Pocahontas County anywho.
Yeah.
They put in a new big honker through Gilmore, and that took all of Humboldt County's water to Pocahontas County.
Yeah, and that will need to be reevaluated. You cannot get out of a district, but assessments can be adjusted for things like that. Yes. I was told there is a line that goes to the west, out of Gilmore, and carries some water. But that goes, but it looks like that crosses right through or under the tile that's part of DD two, also. So, it's in two districts, basically, the way it sounds.
Rick, you might...
But, no, but without the ag wells, this project wouldn't be, because the state would not contribute $2 million.
Right.
So, basically, Gilmore City is benefiting, I know it's expensive for them, but they're benefiting because the state contributed $2 million, which would never happen if there wasn't ag wells.
That's right. The ag wells made this project happen and got free-force funding on the half-inch coefficient, yeah. We've had people looking for ag wells on their property to try and get funds for these things.
I don't think anyone is questioning whether we owe part of it, but it appears as though we're paying 10 to 12 times what the average acre of farmland is. If you take what our acres are worth, the tile line is not gonna increase my value. It will not increase the property value of my land. If I am farmland, that is gonna increase the value of the land, it's gonna increase the value of the crop, because the water's gonna get the water away. The tile's gonna get the water away. Thus, you're gonna get better crops, you're gonna get better value for your land, because you have a county main, you have access through there to tile through. If someone comes to my Gilmore Garden Center and says, okay, I wanna buy your garden center, now I'm gonna give you more money because you have a tile a half mile away, that's not gonna happen. If someone goes to a farm and says, I wanna buy your farm, they're gonna say, well, now I have a county line here, so I want more money for my acre of land. So, the farmland has two ways to recoup their money. I have zero. Everything that I have to pay comes out of my pocket, comes out of my income, I have nothing left to show for it.
There's benefit there, but it's a hard sell, because it's part of the city's storm sewer that does take your water away. So, technically, there's benefit there.
City storm sewer goes to Pocahontas.
Yeah, well, but there's also, I know there's some in there that goes south also. It goes both ways. I'm not arguing that some doesn't go west. It goes both ways from what I've seen.
And also, this new tile, the Gilmore City tile isn't even hooked up to it. We're within a half a mile or a quarter mile all the way down through it, we're hooked to the old one. So what does it do?
Because that property belongs to me, and we had to dig that tile up, and guess what was in it? Broken beer bottles.
Garbage, yeah.
Okay, so we went back and I found an open, intake in Gilmore City beside the co-op property. which at that time, there were tons of children going to school. If one had fell in that, the county would not have been very happy. Well, I did contact, county maintenance person, and I said, get a cover on that immediately. And I called the then, Julie Fidolfin, I believe her name was.
Drainage clerk at the
And
time.
I got ripped up for calling someone to get that fixed. She said, you can't do that. I said, I did it, and it'll be fixed tomorrow. And he did do that. He fixed it. That's covered. At least it was the last time I checked.
Mhm.
But that tile was never, we were never asked about that. They just hooked onto our property tile.
Well, when there's, if land is in a watershed and there's a county tile there, the individual drainage laws allow people to hook up. And they can even go through another property to get to it. But there's steps they're supposed to take to do that. There are means to do it, and it is legal, but they're supposed to go through certain steps to get that
Well, they
accomplished.
did not do that.
Yeah.
Rick?
Yeah.
All these concerns we're hearing, you might describe again to us the benefit committee. Who makes those decisions?
Good point. The supervisors, when it's time to do a reclassification, they appoint 3 people as commissioners. One is an engineer, and then there's 2 landowners in the county that do not have an interest in this district. And this was Pat Hill and Brent Keenest on this, and myself. So 3 of us take aerial photographs, we take soils maps, we look at where the tile runs, and then try and evaluate what benefit is on each of these parcels that you see in the report. It's not that scientific. I wish there was a scientific way to do this. I wish the legislature would come up with a way to do this. You know, and ones like this that we're having here today, it's very controversial over who has the most benefit. And it's just a common sense approach based on the parcels getting the most benefit being at 100% and graduating it down based on the lesser benefit. And that's why we came up with the ranges we did. We've done other ones that have towns in them. We ended up with the same kind of ranges on points for residential and ag. This one seems unbalanced compared to those others, and I can't tell you why. Same type of calculations, everything, but it feels like Gilmore is paying a very big share.
Okay, Rick, let me ask you this then. And the problem we run into every time is when we have a land, city, drainage district.
Yes.
And that being said, 100 years ago, that's why they were set up, so we're kinda stuck with that.
With it.
Is there a means or a way that when we do these, these reviews, like for the city of Gilmore, could they have a fourth person, a representative from the city that could have sat on there and maybe went through these as you went through the points system to make...
They would be...
answer questions or whatever?
They'd be on an advisory status, because the code specifically says that they can't have any interest in that district.
That's right.
So, but it would be a good thing.
Well, I'm just wondering...
I was wondering, you know, you should bring somebody from a residential area rather than 2 ag people sitting on the committee. Have some...
Well, that's a tough
Like,
call.
I went to
because-
13A, you know, Humboldt
Yeah.
got socked there, and there's a lot of controversy with that.
Yeah. What you run into with this one, though, is do you have a representative, an official representative, for 2% of the area of the watershed? I don't know.
Well,
Maybe.
I think what leads to that
But
question...
they're also paying a higher percentage of the
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah, they're paying, yeah.
And dollars are really what people are concerned about.
Yeah. Percentage-wise, for the land involved, yeah, considerably higher.
Because the way it's set up, you know, residential is getting a bigger percentage,
Mhm.
not based on the area, but based on either property values or surface runoff.
In 13A, we had several public meetings for extra input, and maybe that's part of the answer, an extra meeting or
It was
two.
the same issue
Yeah.
where one property owner had 500 and the person next door had 250.
Yeah.
It was hard to distinguish
But
why the difference.
as a minimum, what Jerry's suggesting would be a good idea. and maybe a public meeting with notice. It would mean a complete another notice and that expense, but that's not a lot of money. It'd be Trish's time and the publication cost. Yeah, a representative to provide input and provide just the kind of arguments that the gentleman presented, before it's an official report, would be a good idea.
Right, and I think it would help you, two other members besides Rick that are on this committee, so they can weigh the situation for themselves directly
Yeah.
from the public.
We often
More of a
have,
direct line. is
yeah,
what I'm-
we often have commissioners, we're getting into a report, and they'll go out on their own and talk to several people and get input. I mean, and that's beneficial.
So I guess,
I'd like to add that, when this whole thing started, we talked about cost per acre, and cost per acre is all we heard about. Now, how come when it comes to Gilmore City, it's not cost per acre, it's on valuation? How can you shift,
No.
well, you can call it something else, but it still amounts to what is the value of your lot and what's the building on it? So how come it all of a sudden changes from cost per acre to valuation?
We never looked at valuation, we looked at...
Well, how did you get it that high? You said because the improvements on it, isn't that valuation?
It's hard surface area, it's watershed, it's area that won't take water. That's what we looked at in the residential. We decided on a point range and then looked at how
So
much...
it costs 10 times as much then per acre, because you
Yeah.
think, so we sure got a lot of cement up there in Gilmore City.
Well,
Oh, I-
the ag was 0 to 10, residential, say 25 to 40. So, yeah, it's about 10 times as much, and we were basing that on previous reports that had been done and passed. It just feels high in this case.
So that'd be similar to 126, we had the school up here in the south part of Humboldt.
Mhm.
That was something like, I don't know what it was. A lot of differential there though,
Yeah,
between acre
yeah.
and cost.
Well, it's like Jerry said, and several of you have said before, anytime you get any town, large or small, involved in a drainage district project, it's difficult. It creates these difficult situations, and you have to try and work through it, so.
So to make it fair, before they started, it should have been clear that farmers are gonna pay $250 an acre, and people in town are gonna pay $2,500 an acre. That's what they're saying, they didn't know that.
You never told us that, right.
Okay, yeah,
So for
probably,
future tile, DD 125, that's not it, but any of them, it should be presented.
Yeah.
This is what you're gonna pay,
And-
instead of 3 years later, we're talking about.
realistic ranges for what's to be expected. Yeah, I always make the comment on, it depends on the soils, it can be 2 or 3 times as much, but, yeah, I can believe
and
that.
Russ, even from the farmer's standpoint, when you say the 250, you knew that range was gonna be, could be pretty medium, it could be 3 times that,
Right.
or half that, that's where you're getting the variances
Yeah.
there, but in fairness, it does sound right. I mean, if a property owner in town realized on a per acre it's equal to what, even though, and then that's the time to ask questions, why is it $2,500 an acre?
Right.
But we've got
They
it.
could be setting money aside too.
We've got a gal down the street that's got 4/10 of an acre. She's got an assessment of $1,600. It's $4,000 an acre. How does that ever come close to being fair?
Well, it's points range that's worked out in an acceptable manner previously, and it just feels high at this point.
It's obviously wrong.
It feels high, it does feel
Two or three
high.
lots happening if there wasn't a drainage district.
It'd be a swamp, yeah. That's part of an area that would just be stand water. I mean, you look at these old drainage plans, and you can't believe the amount of standing water that there was in each of these drainage districts. Scary almost. I mean, I wish I could go back for about, an hour would be long enough.
Well, years ago, you couldn't take a boat from Gilmore City to Humboldt.
Yeah.
But this new tile line did not change that.
Well, yeah, it's a matter of getting water to the tile line is the issue there, yeah.
Well,
My water goes through just like it did before.
Yeah.
Does not change one iota whether you put that tile in or not.
And the drainage attorneys also say it's the right of access to the improvement is what you're paying for, not the immediate benefit, so.
Having heard his comments this morning, it looks to me like we're gonna have to continue this hearing at a future date. And I think they'll take into consideration those things that you guys have brought forth. Rick can get together with that committee and see what they
Yes.
shake out, and we'll come back and have another hearing.
Yeah,
Hey, there's a lot of people out in the hall,
Yeah.
get their name on the list.
That sounds
Okay.
good, yeah.
definitely.
Actually, if it's gonna be this big next time.
Somebody has to move it, so-
Meeting someplace else.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes, so everybody can
know
have
what's
a...
going on out there.
You know, once again, we don't feel like we should get away with nothing.
Right.
You know, it does benefit, it does move water, but, you know, like I say, we're 10 times what we should be. We're 10, 12 times what we should be.
And that's the purpose of this meeting.
If we gotta pay $200-300 an acre like the farmland is being done, yes, so be it. We're not saying we don't owe anything on it, but we do say that this is a ridiculous price that we're paying.
It's a lot of money, I know.
There's been yells
Going back to, from previous meetings, you're using the same basis as you had, hey, it was wrong before.
Well, there was hardly any negative feedback, maybe you're just seeing it better.
Have you seen the map that Gilmore spent $800,000 sending the water to Pocahontas County? Have you seen that?
I'm not sure I have,
Yeah, that up there.
Well, that's the main beef.
yeah.
We
And
spent all that money,
that's gonna have an effect on, oops, excuse me.
and that affected everything in Humboldt County.
Another thing I'd like to ask is, there were objections early when this thing first started. Did the supervisors ever read those objections? There are objections that came in the last few days. Did you guys on the board read those objections? Have you read them?
I'm sure we heard them in past.
You heard about them. I said, did you read the objections?
I saw 'em.
I don't think any of you could.
I saw
Why
'em.
don't you read the objections and find out what's
I
going
don't think we
on?
came here for an argument, we came here to solve a problem, sir.
Huh?
Yeah.
We came here to solve a problem, we didn't come here for an argument, thank you.
We're gonna review all of those, word for word, as part of our review of this reclassification.
Rick, I think you've got enough objections here, enough concerns. I think for the commission, I think you're gonna have to hold a meeting so they can present them to you.
That's a good idea. I like that idea.
I don't think you presenting them to the commissioners is proper. They were willing to come here today and voice these concerns. There's enough of them.
Great
I think
idea.
you need to have a meeting in Gilmore City.
That's a great
And
idea.
ask to present this type of stuff again to the two commissioners,
Yeah,
and then we can go from there.
that's a great idea, I like that.
I think what's making
We
this...
gotta work together to get this solved.
Yeah.
I think what's making this a hard project is the fact that these were ag drainage wells that the state wanted closed. And correct, they paid 75% of it. If we could've went along in the perfect world and made no changes, we wouldn't have changed any of this, and you wouldn't have this assessment. So in some fairness, the action of trying to get these closed is very expensive.
Yeah,
It's getting more expensive. There may come a time we shouldn't be closing because we can't close them.
that's right.
So then you need the farmers, or we change the land to something else to close them. But I don't know that they would have quite this high of an assessment if we were doing a new main or a new lateral just separate from this.
Right,
So I think you're gonna have to sit down with the commissioners and figure out a way to make it a little more fair, based on the fact this is an ag well closing. Now, that being said, the farmers on the other side, if you cut this in half to 100,000, all the farmers left pick up 100,000. I'm sure some of them are gonna be mad at us too. So we're right in the middle of all this. And that being said, the project's done, and it's gotta be paid for, so we need to figure out some fairness. I think you need to give them one more chance and
perfect.
present it to the
I think that's a great idea. We just have to then tie...
Because I don't think anybody would argue your concerns aren't legitimate when you're talking the size of your town and $200,000. And what it does for your points on value makes sense. I mean,
And when the storm...
you're not gonna go up in value because of that, but you're not gonna flood out either. So there's some value, and I don't think you sound like you're reasonable, that there's some part of this needs to be paid to
Right,
make it fair.
we are going, I mean, we're part of the district, we do have to pay part of our share, but it's obvious we're 10 times what we should be.
And as supervisors, the farmers in these communities are all part of our county, so we need to work together so we can get this
Absolutely.
resolved. So I think that's what you need to
Yeah.
do.
Let's look way ahead, as far as like levy. Have you thought about that, Trish? I guess I'm wondering if we can work back from that and still get our meetings in that we wanna get in. If not, then the levy would be delayed for whatever time, but, we could have the next informal hearing just anytime. I mean, that can be done with a letter.
What night of the week would work best for people from Gilmore? If you did, I think you do it in the evening, maybe?
Yes,
With your- with your
then people
commission.
can get there, hopefully.
It only matters if they
Give us a day.
Is there somewhere in Gilmore we can hold it? 'cause there's probably people in Gilmore, it'd be easier if it's in Gilmore for them to get there.
Okay.
You can use a senior citizen? Okay.
Could
Who do we
somebody-
contact?
Yeah. Who can she line that up with to get, to use it?
Myself.
Perfect.
Good.
What night of the week?
Doesn't matter, you guys, you work. I'm sure you'll have plenty of attendance.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure.
Well, Rick, what do you think? I mean, you'll have to get your commissioners to be able, or your...
Yeah, well, they're,
Gonna have to be available.
yes. I was just gonna be sure I didn't have anything.
We need to publicize this hearing again, don't we, so we need
The-
some time.
No, you actually don't
For a
need
public
to.
meeting, you probably don't need to.
No, for a public meeting, a letter would suffice. I mean, it'd be nice to set a tentative date today so everybody knows, but, a letter would suffice for the notice. And actually, if you're gonna continue this hearing to a time and place, you don't need another notice for that. You can do a letter again, or whatever, to inform people, but, I don't have many things. Of 1/16.
You wanna do it next week, maybe Wednesday night? 17th, maybe?
Yeah, that would work for me.
Would Wednesday night work for everybody?
Next
Kinda?
week?
Next week, so we don't let it lay too long before we
Yeah,
get
it'd be
this...
good to go ahead and,
Maybe make it for 7 o'clock?
The tenth?
the
No,
17th.
17th, that's just,
Oh,
it's gonna be this week, we won't
I'm
do
sorry,
that.
10th. I'm on the wrong page.
You would do that. 17th, 7 o'clock, Gilmore City at the...
Senior
Center. And she'll make arrangements with you to...
Agreeable, everybody?
Yep.
You know, we have this discussion, I know temper's flying, that's normal, but I can remember having a discussion with Gilmore
I
City.
think that would be fast.
Dakota City, we had the same problem there, we had rural versus urban.
Yeah.
We had the same problem with urban versus rural in Humboldt, and I'm sure we can get this solved with rural versus urban. I'm not sure that so much per acre is an indication, as I understand it, for the overall project. And I don't think we're gonna get it down to so much per acre when it comes to rural, urban. I think there's gonna be a differential there, always. It might be $200 an acre overall project, but it's not gonna be 200 acres, $200 an acre in the city. It's gonna have to be more than that.
Yeah.
So, that night, it'll be the two commissioners, which are Brent Keenest and who was it?
Pat Hill.
Pat Hill. Rick, I'm sure Trish will be there, and I would think any supervisors, I mean, I think you guys present yourself well. If you present yourselves this way that night, that's the best job you can do to try to talk to them about it. I mean, we gotta stay level-headed, we gotta figure it out at
You
the
gotta be on
same
the same
time,
page.
so. It's gotta get resolved, so. I think those commissioners would appreciate hearing from you. I think that's the ones
Yeah,
that should...
good common sense people, yeah.
And it should bring in some light of this drainage well, and how this thing works, and how expensive it is to do this type of project, and maybe we can come to some agreement, for both sides, so.
And we have property in the city of Gilmore City and out in the country, so, you know, I know...
You understand the feelings on both sides.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, you know, if this gets changed, I think you should look at the state and say, listen, you're the ones that forced our hands to close these sink wells in the first place, that really didn't need to be closed, that were working fine. Go to them for some more funding. Say, listen, we got $100,000. It's worth looking into. They're the ones that forced all this. So look to them and say, listen, we have a discrepancy here. If it comes to that, the change in funding, look at them for more money.
Get a cost share on that.
We're spending district, I don't think.
Yeah, and I guess from past discussions with them and applications and things, that it's quite a stretch,
I
but,
know that's a
yeah.
stretch, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think the point being is we're getting down to the ones that are getting harder to close. It's gonna only be more expensive,
Yeah.
so that being considered, maybe there's other alternatives. Maybe we can't close them, or we have to close them and make a wetland. I don't know what we're gonna do. I mean, depends will they force you to close them? We don't know. I mean, that's the big thing. If you really knew if they were gonna force you to close them, if they're all closed, you won't know if they were gonna force you, because they'd be closed, so. But there's still several left, isn't there?
Yes. Matter of fact, the legislature was considering funding for 2 more projects, smaller projects. I haven't heard how that's come out yet, but,
So, Jerry, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
There was, in my understanding, one individual that started this tile line project by petitioning to have it done.
Okay.
If that individual farm owner had not done anything, had not petitioned to have this tile line put in, would it have been done? Or would we still be sitting with our sinkhole like...
Gotta be started.
Well,
We need somebody to
the
start.
only, okay, gets a little more involved, because what's happened was that also triggered the 3/4 funding.
Right.
I believe there's enough environmental concerns that you would be forced to close them eventually. When that is, who knows? I guess the permits expire in 2019 and 2020. That's when you'll know. Are they gonna force your hand to close it right away? We don't know.
Okay, so like Jerry just stated then, if we had not done anything with them, and if they're too expensive to run county lines through, are we gonna put a swamp line around them, and then they're done, or what? I mean...
That's the next
That's
question.
one of the options.
So, if they do that, of course, they're gonna pay the farmer...
Buy the land or
Yeah,
something.
they're
That's
gonna buy the
what I'm-
land, or they're gonna pay the farmer, one of the two.
Right.
So once again,
No, I doubt it, I bet you they'll just close, they tell you gotta close them.
That could be.
and it could very well be, but again,
I doubt they'll buy the
if,
land.
right.
if this individual farm owner had not petitioned to have this tile line started, we'd still be sitting in the same boat without any tile line put in.
I think that's correct.
Right.
It takes, you have to act on that petition.
Correct.
It takes 50% of the farmers owning 70% of the land to stop.
Stop it,
Right.
yeah.
You have to act on the first
Correct.
petition, no matter whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And I understand, which this tile line would not have been put in had this individual not started the process.
True.
True.
Because it takes an individual to start the
Right.
process, no
Right.
matter who's funding it. But I think the real question, the concern is, if it's out till 2019 when these come up again,
Mhm.
and they've been going along for 10 years offering 75% cost share, and you don't take it,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden, you know, say you decide not to take it, they may look at you and say, well, we offered to pay 75%, and that wasn't good enough, we're gonna close them anyway.
Matter of fact, there's
So
that
then,
comment
that's where the
along-
landowners around these wells get, they have to make a decision.
Because then the neighbor's water all runs down onto theirs, and their land now is worth zero. So that's their concern.
So the
And
one,
I understand that
yeah,
concern,
and I know.
but our sink wells today are burned, so they're not taking water, other than natural ground seepage. So what's gonna change where my water goes today versus before that tile went in? Nothing.
Nothing.
Zero.
It's just a matter of how it gets
If,
there.
if our sink wells were still in the same situation where they were surface draining, yes, my water would go to them, and they would go down right away. But the berms have been put in, the sink
But
wells
the
have been...
tile lines are going to the sink wells.
Correct.
When they break them tile lines, that's when the issue...
Most.
Gary's got,
There's one thing you haven't even talked about. You totally went a whole new route with the last couple miles of this new tile system. You're not even thinking about this old tile system that you're paying into, that goes into, that's been draining Gilmore City all these years. It's close to 100 years old, it's gonna need repairing someday. Or, is everybody gonna have to pay when they do that one again?
no, that's why we reduced everybody's assessment along that line drastically. If you look at somebody who's draining just the old main compared to somebody who's draining by lateral eye, you'll be paying a lot less per acre. Some of yours falls right where they come together, so I'm not sure that parcel would be a good one to look at, but some northwest of there, if you looked at the ones drained by the old main compared to lateral eye, they should be paying a lot less. And that's an allowance for future costs. But, or were we on the money with that? I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna continue this hearing the 17th of June, 7 o'clock in Gilmore City. Anybody else have anything to add to this conversation?
Yes, I'd like to switch gears from the city property out to the ag there. You know, that 78,000 set aside, I think you guys are gonna fall short when it's all said and done. I think you're gonna need another $75,000 to fix these repairs, because
We're working on that, Russ.
Yeah.
We're working on that.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at
Yeah,
that.
people are, people are aware of
I got
it.
submit yet. I mean, Doug
Yep.
Marshall's coming out, Roger Schoen just spent 2 days fixing tile that Shaney capped.
Mhm.
He hit the tile, instead of hooking up, he just stuck a cap in, a plug. And-
We haven't closed on it, Russ. We're
No,
we're gonna stay out there as long as...
Any issues you find, photographs, document them.
Yes, because they're accumulating all that.
And the bonding company's aware of there's a
Yeah.
problem.
All right.
Yes, they are, they've been
We're
made
just
aware
getting started.
more than once.
And then I've got one more question, and I'm done here, but what I don't understand, Rick, is where we live, that was the very end of the tile project, and it was the last sink well. And I don't understand why the depth that came in at 11.44 was on the last. I don't understand why we're going 4 or 5 feet deeper than,
Yeah, we could have raised the upper portion of that, especially there. I'd have to go look. I don't think we were near that deep with the leg that went east.
yeah, it was even deeper. Because we went from 1/10th grade to 7/10th grade on that last run, simply because, you know, I talked to you and
Yeah.
Jane, and I said, why are we coming in 11 feet deep?
Yeah.
My tile's coming in at 4, so we raised it to 7/10, and I know the piece of property on my brother's there, that sink, it was like 12 feet. So, but I guess what I'm saying is, like on DD 125, when you're coming into those higher sink wells, are they that deep?
We're 1 to 2 feet under the deepest tile is our goal.
Okay, but why, that's a good goal, but why in DD 2?
I'd have to look at what controlled as we were coming there. Sometimes it's a road ditch, sometimes it's something else you have to hook up. I'd have to look at the upper portion. It's a good question.
Because Marshall's coming next week to finish fixing the tile, that lateral's off into Leaner, and Roger Shaw couldn't fix it because it was so deep. It's just a lateral that goes 300 feet, and he's gotta go down 12 feet, and I'm thinking, why isn't he going...
Because that'll be a problem going forward every time there's a
Right.
repair.
That's why I'm saying,
Mhm.
you gotta have $75,000 in the coffers just to get this big equipment out there. to hook up.
Well, we got a motion on the table. I'd like to make a motion to the effect that Carl made, and then we need a second on it. We should probably move on
Just a
that.
quick question. Do you want to consider this your first continuation of the
Yes,
formal?
I
Okay,
think so.
that's perfect. I just want to be sure.
Right, I think
And
we
then,
do.
We're all supervisors be present at the...
I think we should, if we can, or at least the representation who can come that night. I would be there, I mean, unless something comes
what
up.
if it happened, this would be
Then
an
you could have
extension.
you could have a drainage meeting that night, is what you're saying?
Formal.
Formal one.
motion to accept
Yes.
to whatever, so...
Is that all with you guys?
It's fine with me.
I think we should be there.
And I'm thinking that will be extended again probably, because this would be mostly to get the information.
Oh, question over here.
I hear this, you're having a formal meeting in Gilmore City. Why don't you just have an informational meeting and take your formal back to here at a Monday morning?
Well, that's what I thought was gonna happen, but it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be acted.
You don't wanna have a quorum there, do you, and have legal, you wanna have cameras and everything over there legally copying everything you're doing there?
It'd be a public meeting, I believe.
Well, it'd be public. It'd be public. It's just a matter of whether it's considered a formal meeting.
Well, that makes more sense, bring it back to the,
After we have the information meeting, you have a formal meeting back here.
I think so. And it's
Because
all open to
you're
the
gonna have to
public.
digest all this and put it all
Yes.
together anyway.
That's gonna be to gather the
Make a decision.
information,
All
and
right.
after that, the commissioners and I will need to meet to reevaluate everything. Because I'm gonna do very little with this at this point. And then wait for them to get the information directly, and then we'll have our meeting again.
So I'll make a motion,
Meeting or
hold an
meetings.
informal meeting to discuss the Gilmore City drainage
But
situation.
we'll have Pat. Pat will be there.
Pat and
Pat.
Grant,
Okay, Gary's got a motion.
Wednesday night at 7.
Informal meeting the 17th in Gilmore City to gather more information.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? The understanding is no action to be taken, that'd be something we'll gather the information and come back at a later date, see what we can do with it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Now, you have to decide if you wanna set the formal hearing continuation today, or if you wanna do a new notice. And just reset it.
Why don't,
Trish, what's your, and then,
I would love to reset it because I'm crunch time with other stuff.
all right, that's understandable.
So if you
When
could,
is that gonna be?
To set it
Yeah,
at another meeting,
yeah.
okay.
That's probably true, you gotta keep moving on this thing.
How much time do you need between the informal and the next?
Well, that'd be the 17th, the week would be the 24th, and the next Monday would be the 29th. Of course, we got a lot on the 20, do we have a lot on the 29th already?
I have just one hearing, but
Could we go to the 29th?
let's see what Trish says, 'cause, yeah, if it's not a new
That would be
notice,
10 days,
it's not so much for her, but if it's a new notice,
right?
then everything has to be mailed and published in the
We
paper
got a
again.
hearing scheduled in the morning, I don't know what district.
6 lateral A1, completion hearing.
Is the 29th look, not doable? That'd be about 11, 12 days from that.
No,
Does that work? Yeah, we can do it on the 29th
I think it's not a new one, she's just changing the date.
for this continuation. What time do you want? What's open?
9 o'clock is the completion hearing, so I don't think there'll be a whole lot of problem with you.
No?
Okay.
How about 9:30?
9:30? 9:30.
You guys wanna make that motion?
So we're gonna have the official continuation hearing at 9:30 on the 29th of June.
Here, probably in a different room.
And whatever facility it takes, maybe we'll, maybe we'll find room to get everybody in.
Rick, you make that?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Rick will make it.
Motion by Rick,
Okay.
second by Mort. Other discussion? Continuation, 29th of June, 9:30 at the courthouse.
Good.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you all for coming in, you guys did a good job presenting.
We're gonna get to the bottom of this. I know it's easy for Tinker.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
I know you got a problem. In Gilmore.
Okay, the next item we have here is reclassification hearing for DD 6.
Thank you, everybody, really.
It's warm in here.
We got a lot
I
of-
thought it was just me.
Lot of- Thank you.
Who gave me this plan?
Hey, Lowell?
Can I just get a copy of it?
Yeah, you can have that one.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Can I get your phone number?
Thanks, Bob.
I'll take it.
Rick.
Oh, yes.
At the co-op? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that was,
Thank you.
You see your list, your name list, can I see that?
Mike Shaw.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. Never mind, I knew that, as soon as I said that. Mike, Gilmore City Co-op.
Mike Shaw.
Maynard Weimer.
He does works for Pro Co-op.
It's on my file.
That's why he knows what people there.
His wife runs the nursery there.
Nursery, yeah.
And Barb.
Yeah.
Barb works with her.
Works with her.
She's got property there too.
She's thinking about selling it too, so she...
She was?
Yeah, she's thinking about moving.
Oh, really? Yeah, big problem, huh?
But I can see their point, man, you get hammered $1,600 on 4/10 of an acre, it's ridiculous.
we doing good?
It's kinda like the school gets
People can't afford it.
Well, I wanna see, you're getting nailed on the, drainage assessment, your property plus the street assessment.
Yeah.
That's where I think our commissioners need to do all that.
They gotta realize that just helps.
Well, I kind of got it right on here, so yeah, we're really good job. And I think we just said 200,000 is an annual cost in the town, that's kind of hard to take when you're really in a business.
I know.
I didn't go through it.
Yeah.
It's out
I mean, I think we can make it go away, but that 50% reduction would be a big step in this. I think it should be others upset, but when you get it there. Well, I can see why everything, you got all these people contacting me for weeks, I haven't
Here's the one.
This is what?
The ones that protested.
From this one now?
From the one before.
This morning.
I didn't give you that.
Oh, that's all right. Well, this is the ones that protested from before on this last
Yeah.
project. Oh. School, of course.
This is a list of people that
I knew him, but I couldn't get to know him. He's got a long time. She'll want that back.
That's a list of their own,
Yeah, the wife goes over and she bangs around and went to the casino, but, yeah, she made enough to pay for the weekend, but I don't think I can get anywhere. So I'm not sure it worked out or not. Yeah, they did. It was cold, there was a lot.
Still that body.
I know, is that remote control to turn that thing on?
Right, yeah.
You dropped something, that may was...
I don't surprise.
I reckon,
Hey, how you doing?
good, he was good.
Feel like we're surrounded.
Okay, we're back together again. We're up to, DD 11, reclassification hearing, public comments. Rick, you want to
Okay, I'll
review that
just
one?
summarize things. There's been some debt accumulated on District 11. Clean-outs done, repairs, through the last few years. The decision was made by the board to reclassify this district, in order to try and be as fair as they could with who pays what on this. And the report that people got represent that, summation. Basically, with ag ground, you are to come up with a point range of 0 to 100 points an acre, with 100 points per acre being the most benefited land in the district. And then graduated down based on lesser benefit. This report did that for each parcel, 40 acres or less in the district, as required by law. That's right, is it?
Yeah, that's yours.
Okay.
That's Rick's.
And I think you probably got the one that's alphabetical by name. When we prepare these, we do them by section, township, and range, because that's how we look at them. But for people trying to find their assessment, works better just to go by names. So, either Trish or our office arranges them then alphabetically to make it easier to follow. When I calculated the average cost per acre, I did not have enough dollars in. However, when you saw the dollars, there was too many dollars in. Was it 800,000 spread?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was $800,000 spread when you saw the numbers. I did only 100 and some thousand, but it ended up
17,500.
Okay. So, your assessment's gonna be, I should figure it, but about 30% of what you saw for a number. So it's gonna go down considerably. You said 200 and what?
270,500.
I'm gonna take two. So
Do you want?
do you have a cost per acre on any of those? No.
Yeah.
So,
Well, not cost per acre, but,
The cost?
kind of gander.
24,000 acres.
Abrams, 35. I'm just gonna try and see one.
you're going off the old to the new?
Yeah, well, here's total amounts. I was gonna look at the most expensive one and see what it was for, I think it's one of these, page 2, for the northwest of the southeast.
Right here?
They're paying 2,000 on 14.5 acres,
No, 200.
or 200.
200 now.
200 on 14 acres, so,
And what was it before? Did you, well, you're saying that was... Why was the assessment so much higher before? What changed again?
Just
I missed some.
a miscommunication between Trish and me
Oh, all right,
mostly on the dollars to assess.
All right.
And I didn't have all the costs that she had on her list, so I was lower yet. So, yeah, that was 200. Do we have that's on the 800,000?
That's on the
This is 270.
800?
Yeah, just to give you an idea.
We don't have the right one, yeah, this is the same one as
Well,
well.
Berg. Agnesburg.
Parcel?
14 acres.
0219.
See, you've got, this
400.
one's down to 80.
See, I only had 110,000.
Oh, you've got the low end.
I've got the low end. The report you had the high end.
You got that on 14.51 acres?
It was just short of 600 on your report you saw, and it's exactly 200
So it was 3 times
for the
higher.
actual cost. So,
Well, that's about right, 3 times that would've been
Mhm.
almost 900,000.
So, I guess, what's that figure per acre? 200 divided by 14.
$14.
Okay. So, on the high end, it works out to about $14 an acre, for the work that's been done to date on the district. We use the soils as the main determining factor. Clarions notoriously have more slope, less need of the tile. Now, I know a lot of people are tiling the side hills even in clarions anymore, but the true benefit of the clarion compared to another soil is less, so we put fewer points per acre on those typically. Okoboji's on the high end, Nicollet, I think, is somewhere in the middle. And then summarize all that, in the form of this report. So, that's it in a nutshell, I guess. We could, see what there is for questions at this point.
Comments? Any concerns, comments regarding this reassessment, reclassification?
Yes, ma'am.
How many years does this cover?
Years of what?
Years of work,
I mean, this assessment,
so how many?
years of work.
Yeah, how far back do the bills go, I guess?
There's a few from 2010.
Up to 5 years?
Yes.
Okay, what percent interest have we been charged for?
6.
6?
6%.
Yeah.
Now, that's pretty good money that you have. How about, during this past 5 years, several of these properties have changed owners. How do you suggest that be addressed?
Whoever's the current owner at the time of the assessment is who pays it.
At the time?
Of
Now,
the assessment, yes.
The current owner?
Yes.
Mhm.
Even if, well, that doesn't sound quite right.
It's probably disclosed in the land, in the sale of land.
They're supposed to be disclosed, but,
Well,
yeah,
I don't think it
and it may not have been.
But, why can't you keep current instead of charging 6% interest for 5 years? Why do you have to do so many projects that you can't keep current?
Well, it's a matter of the board deciding when it is right time to do the levy, and that you've been doing a lot more of them in just the last 2 or 3 years than they have before that.
Maybe too many, if you can't keep current, and we have to pay the 6%
Well,
interest on it.
and it costs each time they levy too, but, yeah, it's a matter of just drawing that line. Do they do every district every other year? Well, some of those aren't practical, because it's just a few $100, but,
No, but I think she's probably talking about the ones that are major projects
Yeah.
and stuff. And I've got some concerns too. It seems like these are getting longer and longer. So we're gonna have to come up with a plan to get more efficient and get these things done on time. Trish is in the middle of all this. In all fairness, she hears from you guys, so she's getting the direct complaints. And we get them too as they come through her, but we're gonna have to do something. We have to improve efficiencies on these, or we need to stop doing projects so quickly, or we need other engineers to be involved, in my opinion. Something has to get improved.
well, and it's just deciding when you're gonna levy.
I mean, do you guys
Yes.
think that would be, is that something we should look at? If we've got too many projects, do we need more than one engineer, maybe?
Well, or at least slow down on your projects.
Or slow them down?
And review the levies every year, probably. I mean, and maybe you do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think
I
she
do.
does, but
So-
if the levy's under a certain amount, you're not gonna pass a levy, correct,
Right.
Trish? I mean, you
It
can't,
depends on how much,
if
how,
you're short,
say you have $500, but that $500 has been in there for years, I will definitely levy it, 'cause it's just not,
'cause it's not
It's
gonna
been
be, it's not
there.
gonna be, what do you mean, it's not gonna be enough to cover future things? or
Well,
what? Oh, you mean it hasn't
There's
been
not much-
levied?
Yeah, if there's not much action in that district, it's better to
But I don't
take care of it
think-
and levy. I have like 50 drainage districts to levy this year.
Okay, so you're levying
So
half of them.
they're levying a lot of them, and there's,
Many, obviously.
Well-
You can't handle it all at once.
Just
I'm
probably
not
go a little
saying
over too, don't you?
Yeah,
So
but-
there's excess in the fund, so they don't have to do it for small projects. But I don't think, they're not,
We're paying the interest.
I don't think you're upset on the levies paying interest on the ones that are under $5,000. You're talking about the big projects that are not getting,
Well,
that's, That's where it
All
starts.
together, they accumulate.
No, but I'm saying an individual drainage district that's only got $5,000, that isn't a big interest item compared to these big ones. These big ones are the ones that need to get more timeliness.
Yes.
Because that 6% adds up on those, it's something on the $5,000 ones, but I'm not so worried about doing them if she's doing them regularly. What I'm saying is she can't get the information done sometimes to finish the levy on these big projects.
Yeah.
Because you have ag closure, well permits, you've gotta have, there's just some
Reclassification took forever on
reclassification.
this one.
Yes.
I mean, you're right, it's getting drug out too far to some degree, and I think we need to address that somehow.
Well, and we got into the reclassification, then we came back to the board and got their approval to do all the sub-districts at the same time, because that saved money in the long run, so that added some time. So, yeah, this one, it took a while, just because of the steps that were taken. But, yeah, and Trish is making a conscientious effort to bring to the board ones that she thinks should be levied.
I'm not blaming Trish.
No, I know.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, why even bill it out if you can gain 6% from the landowners, why even bill it out? Because the longer it runs, the more money you can make off them, because you can't get interest anywhere else like that. I mean, it's still too high an interest rate.
Well, and that, yeah, there's,
You're making money off of just
Waiting.
I mean, I understand you can only bill so often because of the logistics. of it.
Right.
But the longer you wait, the better off it is. By not collecting, you get more interest.
I don't get it.
No, not
but
you.
when the county
The county does.
when the county...
Some of the county.
Yeah, when the county buys those warrants, which they do some of that, yeah, the county's getting the interest to save the overall expenses of the county. Yeah.
And we can't pay it because
Because it hasn't been leveled.
filled out, so you don't even know it, and you're paying that much for interest.
And Martha was just out there recently working on something he said he was supposed to have done 2 years ago. Kinda late to work on it now with our district going on right now.
Well, and they've had a lot of trouble finding enough contractors to do this repair work. The contractors want to do big projects.
When you're starting over what we're trying to do now, why was he there? Now.
Starting, okay, so
This is a big project.
Thursday and Friday, he was there 2 days, he had 4 or 5 guys out there.
That's a fine line too.
And he should finish the one that Nielsen's got going over on the other side. He will not, that one needs done. It's not.
but you mean the head wall on that one?
Head wall, and I got a lot of dirt on CRP that I'm lucky I haven't been hounded by the DNR.
And you are?
Steve said.
Okay, and you wanted it left, the spoil, to use?
Well, that's where it started, and then
That's where
Steve
it started.
didn't want
I
it.
never heard anything more from him.
Did you use
I told
some
him
of
to
it?
contact me, yes, I've used some,
Okay.
not much.
He will get it done, and Gary's aware of it. I spoke to Gary last week on some of these things, but the problem that's happened there is, when that project, and we're getting off subject here, but that project, you know, ran into problems with that head wall, couldn't get it out, well, then the contractor that bid it didn't bid replacing the head wall. He had no experience in that, so we had to find someone else, which I'm frustrated too, because I farmed that property. I know Steve and I know what we're talking about on this one.
Yes.
So there along comes the last pavement on the road, and they put that guardrail in all the way and covered it. Now the driveway's done, so we're gonna have to pour cement from the road with a pumper. I mean, these things are all frustrating to me also, but they won't be getting that done till the summer when it's good and dry, because they can't have the, you know, and right away the dirt's wanting to get into the ditch again, which we just, I mean, it's a multitude of problems.
Dirt out yet, 'cause they're gonna be digging it out again.
Yeah, but he is going to get that cleaned up, Steve. Now, were you talking about the other one that Doug was working on?
Yeah, Thursday and Friday.
No, did one of you guys talk to you? Because one of you kinda thought there was a 16-inch tile to the north that was feeding into that. You wanna leave that old line, don't you?
The old main.
We do wanna leave the old line, is that what you wanna do?
No, he was in the ditch.
Oh, well,
The holes
it's,
were
okay, what's going on?
done before. And I thought, well, if you were gonna redo this, why are they fixing it?
Well, then that head wall was
Yeah.
in bad shape, and that definitely needed fixing.
Yep.
Because when we bring this new tile line in, we'll talk about this later, I don't think that should be going into that head wall, I think it should be coming separate under the road and leave that head wall alone. And we're gonna go out there and clean out that east side of that head wall and pull it back up, I believe that's what we'll talk about. and you can save that one, because these head walls cost a lot of money to replace, and there's the contractors that wanna do that, so we can save that one, so I'm glad he did some work on that.
Is what I was concerned about. I didn't know what you were gonna do for sure, and then here he's out repairing this.
Right, 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 and we probably wouldn't, well, we thought originally we might be, but the way it looks now, after going out there and seeing it, we need to leave that alone and come in under the road.
Yeah.
And that has gotta be...
We've got a couple of
you've gotta-
options in the
You've gotta
plan
do
for
it that way.
Yeah.
When you go out and physically see it, you can see why it needs to be done that way. It just would not make sense to stick another one in there, because I know we're gonna have the same problem where Steve and I are. I mean, it's just gonna be a worse problem. The head wall's good if we can fix that one side. Save the money. All right, we better keep going.
Tile repair,
Sorry.
yeah.
We gotta go on.
Yep.
Back to the, any other comments on D11? Yeah, go for it.
How much does this reclassification cost?
Between $2 and $3 an acre.
Is it worthwhile?
Nearly always. The older classifications really hammered that we're right over the tile or right by the ditch. I mean, drastically hit them. This spreads it out a little more, still making the people close to the tile and the ditch pay more, because it's the ground that needed it the worst in the first place. But it's a little more balanced. For example, several years ago, working with commissioners, we increased the amount Clarion soils pay. And the reasoning there was, so much of it is tiled now, it's pattern tile even, that they should pay a bigger percentage than they used to way back. They might have only paid 1% of the project years ago, and that just wasn't right.
Well, a lot of these reclassifications could be over 25 years old, that's...
Yes,
another reason.
Or some go back further than that even.
Yeah.
Common sense would say they need to be updated a little more often. I mean, I don't think you do them every 5 years, but I do think
Well,
when you have...
the soils don't change.
No.
But how people look at it does, and how farming operations
I
does.
realize that...
And the pattern tiling is making a big difference.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've got this cost down. If it's all ag, we can usually do it for about $2 to $3 an acre. So we're trying to keep those costs down and still make it fair when we do it.
So, how close are we getting to being able to finish this then?
What's that?
On this one, Dee, I mean, on this, how far, I mean, are we gonna be able to get this for the tax roll, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I think
Yeah.
they're wanting to hear too today.
Yeah, get it off the books. Yeah, this one should be able to get off the books.
So in September, it should be on the tax rolls for...
Assume that's how you're doing it, right, Trish?
You bet.
Do we have other comments for DD11?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
When you have a cleanup job after the work is done, do you get bids from, another company to come in and do it, or you just hire Marshall?
Well, it depends on the work. We've used,
Because I think Peterson out of Badger is a lot cheaper.
we're using Rick Peterson quite a bit.
That's a different Peterson.
No.
Oh, Nels, you talking Nels?
We got
Yeah.
Rick and
Oh,
Nels.
now,
Well,
we got two...
They're very hard to get
Nels,
to do.
they're very hard to get to do work.
I talked
They're so
to,
busy.
is it Scott?
They're good.
Is
Yeah.
it son
My
Scott?
son had him do a project, and it was $7,000 cheaper than
Okay,
anybody else.
I tried to arm wrestle the other day outside of Hardy. Scott was loading up, and I says, "We got more work." He said, "No, absolutely not." I said, "We can't take on anymore." I says, "Well, are you sure you can't?" And he says, "No, I think he gets arm wrestled from the people in his area so
Yeah.
much. He doesn't want to get too far out of, I mean, they must have enough work, apparently."
Yeah, when I read the fine print in the paper, and I see these prices these guys get, and I just can't believe it. Just a little while they're out there, and it's $10,000-12,000.
It's been a constant battle, first to find people to do it, and then the cost.
Yeah, then you know who has to pay it.
Yeah, landowners.
But it's either gonna,
Yeah.
It gets damn old.
it's either gonna be that, or they're not gonna get fixed. That's
Or
what we're up
fixed
against.
correctly.
Well, we've had that problem too.
Yeah. Mhm.
I wish there was a...
Can you ever call Peterson?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
She's on our list.
Yeah.
We've got another Brandon Meyer from Eagle Grove. Nice young guy, I think he's a little bit cheaper, we're trying to work him in.
Pretty aggressive.
I've already got him lined up for 6 projects, I mean, you just can't find these guys.
Yeah.
Jerry Capatis is the best.
Jerry's good too, but Jerry's not too available
He's the
either.
best in the area.
He's very good, he's buried several things for him, but
Probably 2 years out on burying Farm Place.
Yeah, see,
Well, we
he's
talked-
making money,
Yeah.
he's making money burying Farm Place.
Yeah.
I mean, we
There's a lot
just
of
need more
people-
people
yeah.
doing the job, there's work out there, and nobody will
Yeah, they've
hard to
struggled with
get somebody to do
that
it.
for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good people, and some of the best are so busy.
And, you know, like somebody mentioned earlier, digging deep, you know, we've got these, most of them have to have a long reach now. Well, I think Marshall probably rents one now, maybe he's rent to own now, 'cause he's got a, but you know, this big equipment they're using is costing more and more too, so. I mean, it's frustrating,
We'll have to...
yeah.
Mile we went through with
Section 23, it helps, you know, can we get somebody in there to level that off at the cost of the guy that does it?
Depends on when it was done. If
2
you,
years ago.
it's hard to go back on them 2 years ago because the drainage guarantee is for 1 year. But often, I've seen the county work with the landowner to get somebody out there. I mean, to get it, so it's not directly the landowner's expense. The leveling
Who
can
was
be
the
done.
contractor? You remember? Contractor on that?
There was somebody out of,
Augustine was the kid's name that was running it.
northeast Iowa, I think.
Not Danvers.
They done it in the wintertime.
not Graves,
Which project?
11.
No, 20. Oh, it was
Oh, it's in
11?
11.
Well, they put in that 56-inch main, I remember that.
Oh, shoot.
Was that 61?
Right out through section 23.
What? Wakuska?
I can't, it was before my time.
Have
Oh,
trouble
I can't
reading
even
those
think
numbers.
who we had in there.
So- You don't remember what district it was?
Turn that on. I think I'll fall on the table.
I don't
It's getting a little
Oh,
warm
I
in here.
can't think of it.
159, was it?
Thank you.
That's just west of town.
Oh, 61?
I think it's
61, that'd been a little longer ago, probably.
Oh, yeah, that was C and J.
C.J. Moyna?
Moyna?
Moyna.
C.J. Moyna. They came back and did some, but, I mean, we can ask, if they're coming through the area, there's a chance we could get them to do it, but they're really under
Because
no
it's planted
obligation.
now, right? And it's planted now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How big an area is it? I mean, is it a quarter mile, half mile, or would you guess?
Parts of that.
Parts of that.
Parts of that.
All
We
right.
have other comments on DD 11? Yes.
One more comment, it's more of a general comment. There was a tile crossing the road, west of Ode, and, it had quit taking water at the intake, and the water was sitting there, so they dug it up, and they found, when the power company had trenched the line in, maybe 20 or 30 years ago, the line cut right through the tile. And in those kind of things, I don't see any reason those kind of things still aren't happening. When you have work going on in the county, if somebody can watch or something, it would help that, because, it was, the power company did it, whoever's line it was, and it just go right through stuff. It's time consuming for them to fix them, and it happens a lot. So,
They cut a line and it wasn't sucking dirt, so they...
Well, and that...
they cut a line and
Yeah.
it finally sank in enough and plugged up.
Yeah, I know what Mike's talking about, 'cause I had a phone company, one did that on,
All the time.
did it on mine. And they went right through the tile, cut through the top part of it, and it held up for quite a while, and all of a sudden, why is this water not going away? Well, you know, this was a period of 10 years later, and finally that tile, and that's the problem, if they kinda nick them and they don't destroy them, we're kinda took on that basis, but...
When somebody gets permission to go through the road ditch, it's just gotta be either somebody that will take care of it, or someone has to watch it, because
There was
they wreck all kinds of stuff.
There's a lot of...
I tell you, 'cause they fixed 2 intakes in that farm, and it's all together.
Made a big difference, didn't it? Yeah.
They notify Paul, right?
Yeah, Paul's a stickler on things, and, you know, and he tries to work with them on that, but once they get the permit, you know, it seems like we don't hear nothing from them until the work's done usually.
Central Contractors did that work over by Thor there a few years ago, and they went out and pre-worked, or pre-marked every single crossing,
That was
intake and
nice.
everything, so that when they came to that, they knew they either had to avoid it or fix it.
That was
They did the
good.
best job anybody I've ever seen.
So it can be done right.
It takes...
Takes the right person, the right company, I guess. Okay.
I just want to say that I did have one, objection
Oh,
to the classification, and that was from Jeanette and Arnold Brodell.
okay.
And they just see that it seems unfair, but, they are not directly in District 11, but DD 61 outlets into it. So,
They get an
that's
assessment.
where their assessment comes from. And I don't know if they understood that.
Okay.
Are we to the point we need to approve this reclassification?
I believe so.
Other comments before we move on? Maybe we've heard some of this. Anybody care to entertain a motion to approve reclassification DD 11?
I'll make a motion to approve the reclass of DD 11.
I'll second.
Motion before us to approve the reclassification of DD 11. Other comments before we move on? Anybody? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, we move on to DD 6, Main Branch B, preliminary engineering report. Public comment. Thank you, folks. Thank you, folks. We got a lot of drainage this morning, one after another. I see that. Yeah.
Stick around, Steve.
Yeah, piece of paper plus around here someplace, don't we? One other?
What's that? Oh, that fan feels better.
Yeah.
Was I the only one getting hot, or what?
Warm in here.
We'll send that around and give it to this one. We got newcomers here for a different district, we gotta send the seat around again. Just a long path.
That's why I haven't turned that fan on, my God. I can't get my...
I have no idea.
Which one we on now? Six. Six.
Well, that's I couldn't say. Well, you know what, when's out there for, what do we gotta do it again?
I don't know if he's here for the DD too, or what, he was out there.
Oh, he just talked to Paul about something.
Okay, we got a sheet of paper coming out for DD 6.
I'll have to sign those later.
Rick, looks like you're on stage again.
You got bills for me?
I'll do that later.
Let's try to move, so I get approved after that.
Does the board have this?
No.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We did.
Whoops.
One might, but I...
DD 6 set up there.
It's, northwest of Thor.
Yeah, just northwest.
Mile and a half, 2 miles northwest of Thor.
Okay.
Which one are you? Oh, yeah.
It's north side of 3.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, excuse me, south side of 3. Right here, yeah, it's just a mile north of Thor, mile northwest of Thor, it starts, mile and a half. Mile. That's kinda where Dredge Ditch comes up to the road.
Yes,
Use both words.
yeah. Which I don't know what the difference is really.
This district they were just describing is just northwest of Thor. There was a petition submitted to look at tile coming across and to the head wall. Was established way back in 1905, 110 years old. You should not be surprised there's some issues out there. Just citing how best to describe this.
Well...
The map in the back of the report is probably the best thing to refer to. It shows where branch B
basically goes north-south, and we have determined it'd be the most cost-effective to relay the main in the northeasterly direction. The bulk of the problems we've heard about are all in that west part of Section 8. A lot of broken tiles, matter of fact, I think the comments were made about them working on that right now. Part of the reason they're doing some repairs out there is to try and minimize the damage until this gets built, if this gets built. This is what we don't know yet, is if this is gonna go forward. We looked at options for the main, for half-inch coefficient, 1-inch coefficient, and we looked at options for branch B, for half-inch and 1-inch. Now, I hope I can get into this enough to remember one of these options, we had to do a new pipe under the road. There was one where the smaller coefficient, we could use one of the existing pipes coming through the head wall. So, if you're saving the head wall, we can still do that. If not, we'll have to do something different, go under the road. But for the larger option, we're gonna put a new pipe under the road. So,
But is there enough coefficient, is there enough
Yes.
flow line to go into the old one?
the half-inch coefficient would use a pipe that's big enough to have a half-inch coefficient under the road. It just worked out that way. I think it was like 36 or something.
Yeah.
That would be the pipe that we hook onto, is the 36 that goes under the road. The pipe that won't be used anymore, if we were to discontinue the old main branch,
Right,
we'd use it under the road as part of the new system.
so you wouldn't replace that part, you're
Right.
saying?
Right. So, and it's big enough, and has enough slope, so, and that's why the half-inch
But
is...
if we wanted to still use the old tile system out there, you would still put this 36?
No, then we put it in another place, we come out a little
Okay,
further south and...
all right.
Now,
All right.
from what I've seen out there, though, that old system is pretty bad. Holes all the time, there's like a whole bunch of them in the ditch, it seems
Yeah.
like, on a regular basis, so...
Yeah, that little branch going north through the ditch, that goes within the Steves, and then it cuts across up into that Pressler farm, across that fence line, there's holes there all the time.
All the time, that's what I've heard, I've been out there...
So is that in the area of this new proposed one then? Or is it farther down? The second,
On that brick branch,
Branch B and
Branch B.
Yeah.
that's straight up and down north,
Going
north
across
to
the road
south?
and goes north, north.
And it's currently in the road ditch, and we would prefer that to be right in the edge of the field as far as cover and everything. Now, this isn't a final design, but that was the way I was leaning if this goes forward.
Well, yeah, you want, if we're gonna do something new, you gotta get it out of the road
Yeah,
ditch now.
yeah, that's what
I got a dumb question.
No,
Why isn't it on the other side of the road?
I don't know.
I mean, if you're gonna put a new one in, why not put it on the other side of the road rather than cross the road twice?
Probably, I don't know, why they had it that way originally. There
Well,
was
you
a
could
study-
save that on the one, couldn't you?
Well, I mean, you got, up above there, you cross the road, and then you come down on the road ditch and you cross the road again. Why not put this new one on
Why
the other
not?
side of the road?
There's too many crooks,
Yeah,
you can't get a water flow.
Looks to me it'd make more sense.
tile is extremely...
Yeah.
Well, that's because you got this other one coming up from Pressler. You got two 30-inch mains dumping into
To a 36. Yeah, and then it just makes a dam.
We're gonna have separate outlets for the branch and the main now, completely separate, so they can work independently. And that's gonna help a lot of
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Now, there was a plan made to extend the open ditch along the west side at one time, and that fell through. We've got copies of that in the file. That fell through. Now, I don't know if there were some areas on the east side of the road they wanted to drain as they started north. I don't know how that happened originally.
No, but if you're gonna put a new tile in, why not put it on the west side of the road, is what I'm saying.
I'm thinking there's...
see a reason not.
Well, that's what I'm...
To me, that makes sense.
This input's good, because I would have to assume
You
that
mean
there
the
were
east side,
mile
we're on the west,
surplus
we're on the
order
west, huh?
going
We're on the
into
east
it.
side of the road, this is north.
Yeah.
But they said they put it on the east side, let's put the new one on the west side of the road.
The head of the ditch is on the west side of the road.
The head wall is,
That's what I had to...
bring that new tile, go up here and catch on to bring it right down.
The head wall's on the west side of it, right.
Correct.
But we can miss the head wall with a new outlet, too.
Well, yeah, you're saying move it over to the east
Yeah,
side. not the
Yeah,
west
so
side.
that's the way we got our west side.
Right, north is up.
Yeah, north
All the way
is
through the
north.
Came up here though?
Oh, yeah, it
Road
should.
and angle.
On my backwards here.
That's, because north would be, right,
If you're,
right, we're already on the east side.
Yeah, I'm
We wanna
sorry.
go to the west, don't we?
That's why I said move the main.
Down to, we'll move the main to the west side.
Move the new main to the west side.
Right, not the, yeah,
if the
right.
northwest quarter of 8 does not drain into branch B, we could definitely go on, stay on the west side of the road.
Say that again, Rick, if the
If the
north,
northwest quarter of section 8 does not have water drained into it,
okay,
right now, they'd be able to tie in directly to it, if we stay east.
Well, what's wrong with leaving the old one on the east?
well, that's what I
Leave the old one, put the
That's
new
what
one
I
on the
wanna
west,
know.
and-
Yeah, but isn't that the one that's collapsing pipe every year?
Maybe down at the end, I don't know.
I'm sure it's doing.
Well, okay, here's the deal, Doug went out there and was working on it, you were out with him?
Yeah, I was out
You were,
there.
you said one of you guys were out
Put it on the
there.
west side.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but he was working on that head
On
wall.
the east side too.
But he was doing,
Yeah.
and the tiles that he was working on in this main that, or what he has seen is, they've got cracks, but they're on the bottom, they're not quarter cracks yet. So then I said, well,
He just said it was just, he says the tiles were okay, he says that...
okay, here's the problem.
It was too wide
Yes,
apart.
thank you. Here's the deal. It's not the interlocking tile, they're just up flush. So that's what's starting the problem. You're
Right.
getting the sucking from the gaps that are starting to show up, because they're not interlocked. But the tile itself, we're not breaking up. So I thought, well, then, if we took the pressure with this new one and put it over on the east side, that would take a lot of pressure off some of the old, if you could get, like you're saying, Rick, you can get it directed into you can get this 26 feeding right into this, take some of that pressure off, maybe that would hold up. And remember, if there's any tile on the west side that's into that, we aren't messing with that.
On down
Side
the
of
road,
tile.
if you're gonna move it to the west side and you leave the existing, what are we gonna have in the bylaws to maintain the old and the new?
Well,
It's a state part of the county
Pressure off
system.
that.
It's a state part of the county system. My concern was, I was out there, I don't know, it's been quite a while ago now, there was 5 or 6 holes on the east side,
In the ditch.
in the ditch. So I thought it was in bad enough condition that we would have to abandon that portion of it. Now, maybe not.
Did he say, did Doug say what the cover, how much cover's on this?
My
guess is that
the
old one's on the east side.
And the new one he was proposing on the
Well,
west.
he's proposing on the east side also, I think move it to the west side.
They probably took
I wanted it
I don't
around.
think
It's getting frosty.
I don't think there's much cover on it at all in that.
You know, it lays like
I
this.
don't know, all I know is just right out in the field.
Here's your drainage, you come out there and your head walls here on the west
Out
side.
there in Nelson's field, and it was deep, really deep. I was surprised it was that deep.
It looked like there wasn't a lot of
Okay,
cover in
I
road,
see
use,
your
but I couldn't tell you
concern.
how much or how little. I guess,
Okay.
have there been objections to the project filed? Okay, so, it looks like a project is gonna happen, now it's a matter of
How to do it.
What project, where to put it, what coefficient to go with.
So if you tie into that 36 that's underneath that head wall, it'll still handle that, you're saying, as long as we're half-inch
As long as
coefficient?
it's half inch, but it's the usual, right, encourage the 1 inch.
Yeah.
Because this is,
Well,
with no grant money.
There's a lot of water up north.
That needs to come
I'm
through
just
there.
concerned about
I would
running
say
that
get as
through
big
there.
as outlet as you can through
The
there.
1 inch coefficient you
You're
can't
digging.
do.
Put it in right.
Just put it in writing.
I'm not,
Oh,
I still got it,
yeah.
but I took a video of my intake fountain.
Shooting back,
It's not letting it out, 'cause it...
See, then, if there was interest to go to the inch over the half, I just do not think we should mess with that head wall, put anything in there, if we could just go under the road then. and
Go around the
have
head
it
wall,
separate.
dump it in, lower it down.
Get it a ways away from the head wall, so don't undercut it,
Right.
'cause
Now, you have to clean the top part of the ditch.
Probably.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
happening.
that was that's another thing Doug,
It's under,
and
I
I
don't know if
talked
it's
about,
under
he said,
contract or not, but it's...
Doug said that would need a little attention
Yeah.
too.
We're gonna do that first mile now.
'Cause you know,
Like
the
soon.
year, was it '08 when we had that last big monsoon rain? Huh? 10?
It went 8 and 10.
Wow.
8, the water went down.
One of those, I was out there, and I know why that head wall, there was so much water coming over the road, my God, it just washed that head wall loose. I mean, I can't imagine how much force was out there, as much water couldn't get out, so it went over the road. So that head wall can be saved, 'cause I think he can move the dirt, pull that flange back out, and then put a tie rod across there. But I think this should, even if it's a half, I think it should be on its own.
2010, that Frustler Farm, water sat on there for over 100 days.
Yeah.
I believe it.
It went down.
Oh, yeah, it would be 10, man, time went by, it was 10, it wasn't 15.
Another thing that Dad has told me about years back on going across Wiggins is, and in that area, the way that was, there was kind of a open ditch, not a farmable open ditch,
Waterway
and
type.
it's been farm closed. That, was
I
there
checked
something...
into it, and the engineer that put that in recommended the ditch be left open for overflow.
I believe it.
Oh, that's been farmed over.
Means he said recommended, and not shall be, you can't go in and do anything about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is a good one to see where there's not grant money in, how little more it costs to build the 1 inch.
Oh, yeah.
Branch B goes from an average of 315 an acre to 409, less than $100 increase. And the main, because you have more people there, that goes from 201 to 261. So if you're gonna do anything out there, do the 1 inch and determine what route's gonna work the best for everybody out there.
Rick, have you run some probability factors of what your increase in flow and capacity's gonna be with this?
Well-
Because there were some discrepancies in what the actual size of the
Size out there.
systems were.
And I can't tell you the percent increase. I can very easily tell you it's gonna be 2 to 3 times the flow with this 1 inch, at least. Now, because of the discrepancy of sizes,
It's hard to say.
it's hard to say. But I will tell you, with these designs, what we do is we design it so it will carry a 1 inch when it is just flowing full. I mean, when intakes don't have water standing above them and everything else. So in the worst conditions, when you need it the worst, it's more like 1.5 inch coefficient. So it really, really takes the water.
It has to be pressurized anymore,
Yes, yep.
So that's something we're gonna look into about running the tile on the west side too. I mean, I like that idea.
I mean, it just makes sense to
Yeah,
me.
bring that water straight down.
Yeah.
It's just, and then leave the old line so you can take
I
the
think that
pressure.
makes more sense. Yeah, come down that west side.
That's
You know,
great.
turn across that road.
Yeah, that's
Are you gonna
good.
leave the one on the east side too?
Yeah, then possibly leave that one there.
Well, I think we probably could.
We can, it's a matter of, is it gonna continue to fail? I don't know. My
Well-
impression when I saw it was it was failing a lot. Now, maybe it's just an isolated thing.
So if it does fail, the only thing you have is the quarter, that Fisher Farm, right?
Right.
Yes.
So that's the quarter that's in question, here,
Yes.
whether or not it can drain, so.
And you could tie that Fisher Farm into the new.
Tied in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think
To me, it makes sense.
But my thinking, based on what Doug saw and said, you know, about how they're lined, if you take some of that main flow off of there, and it's...
That might run a long, long time, and then
It might go a lot better. You won't show that tile up, you won't get the swirling on the top side that cuts all those suck holes out of there, if we can get the main pressure off of there.
Oh, it takes so much pressure off of there. Well, the line you're talking about now handles the main and branch B.
So that's why you're getting
And
all
we're gonna take it
the...
all off, except for that small area.
And on the east side, if we ever have to come back and replace that, I mean, what do you have in there right now for tile size? I can't read that, but we could probably go back with the left side tile.
Oh, way less.
And do that all new.
12 or 15 inches
Right,
probably would be
handle all that,
Yeah.
boom, you're done.
Yeah,
A lot cheaper, better, you got more capacity for everybody.
yeah, yeah.
I like that idea.
But definitely
Yes.
getting the new one out of the road ditch and where it belongs.
Right,
is
that, we will wanna do
It's
that.
time to do that.
What size are you gonna run up,
Yeah.
up to that fence line?
Where is he at on this? If you do the,
Is it the 1 inch? I think she
is that
said.
B?
Oh.
There's 1 inch.
48 if you want.
That'd be at the top side would be, well, it looks like 48 if it's an inch.
Yeah, the
It's
half.
48 on that inch.
That's a good
That's good,
thing.
because you got like, what, a 30 inch coming down to that fence line, and then you got an old 16 dumping in also, so.
Mhm.
See, See, that 16 doesn't hardly work right now because...
No,
There's no room for it.
no outlet.
Yeah,
Oh, that 16 that comes across down into that 26?
yeah.
I see.
So you gotta make sure that's big enough. You're gonna put a big equalizer in, fence line then?
Where are you talking?
Well, he's talking sub 4 or 6, I think, where the 16 comes in to the 26 and then goes down to what we have now.
Well, we're not going quite that far.
No, but he wants to know if that'll handle that with the 48 inch, which it should.
Oh, yeah, we figured drainage area.
I just wanna know how long that was running up there to where they meet, so you're gonna put a big equalizer in there then?
A pipe.
For the 16 to dump and the other 28 inch to dump? And then are you gonna keep the old ones still going down? Down to the ditch? Down to the...
Well, the 48...
Side of the ditch?
Yes, I think,
You should keep that.
keep the old one on the east side of the road, run the new one up on the west side, but how far north, you're thinking you need to run it clear up to where the 26 and the 16 meet?
You're talking the main.
The main.
Yeah.
Going northeast.
Yeah, going northeast, the main going
Yeah.
northeast.
Oh, that one, okay, I'm on the...
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're on the main going
All right.
north, all
The
right.
main going northeast. How big is that gonna be?
No, 48 if you go the inch, 48 again, starting out. The main tile 1 inch is 48.
I don't think the main is big enough going on north from the road.
Northeast.
No.
In section
Section
5,
Exactly.
Yeah.
the main is not big enough there. to take
Which
it
location?
In section 5.
Going northeast.
Going north, well, it's going north, really, about straight north.
Oh, you mean that one?
Yeah,
Oh.
and it goes on.
Well, no, this is what they're talking about, they're talking about putting one on the west side now.
Yeah,
A main,
yeah.
and then keep the one on the east side, so you'd have two of them.
No, what Ed's talking
No,
about.
I'm talking about
Oh,
the
okay.
road going north.
Oh, over here.
Up on Highway 3.
Well, it don't go clear to Highway 3, but it strains out.
I'll show you.
I think he's talking about this one right here.
I think
Oh, I
there's
see
two.
this one.
Then the code continues on.
It just, I mean, this it shows you.
Too flat. I wonder if it
Too
isn't
small,
probably
way to
though.
go.
Let's see this one.
Just this area.
We just parallel this one, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the one we move over to the west side of the road, yeah.
Drains,
Well,
all
that
this stuff
could
here,
be,
Oh, yeah.
moving this across.
east of the road a lot. So
Yes.
I think that would,
There's
just
something
can't
there.
handle it.
When the project's going.
But it's absolutely a lot faster than you get if they keep,
Well,
if they put a new one here, and they leave this old one.
Good sized tile going in out. You see all that big tile?
Three big tiles dumping into that little 36 going to the road.
I don't think we can put any more in there.
No.
Well, I would not wanna go through that after I saw it.
No, I'd
Saturday,
stay away from
Friday.
the
Just get out in the open. And then if you're on the other side of the road, you're right to the ditch anyways.
Yeah.
So it would be, when you have to go through the road there, you can come across.
It goes down to
Shoot.
and then cuts across.
Oh, yeah.
That one there. See, they should rid of that one, too, as a...
Yeah. These projects are...
concerned about both of them.
These projects take care of huge bottlenecks that you're dealing with now. Now, some of these, like going up Branch B, the 24 north of sub 4 of 6, that's good size for the area it carries, but it's not getting away down below. I believe you'd see an enormous improvement.
Well, and you'd take relief off the one in the ditch, so
Yes.
that it could maybe maintain itself a little while.
Yeah. And
I really think it
I'm-
would.
I'm shocked it's not quarter.
Well, that's why I asked
mean,
Doug.
it's wonderful.
Doug really felt it was a little better shape than we, he said the biggest problem on those holes is, again, they're coming up flush, they're not
Mhm.
interlocking, so over the years, the movement, you know, has moved them a
Well,
little
cost
bit.
is-
But I also think, the only time I ever have that trouble in that 40 down by Steve is when the dang thing is clear full and it's back pushing and it wants to circle, it's cut the dirt out.
Mhm.
I don't think the dirt will cut as much on that
Right, so
if
much
you get
pressure
pressure
off.
off of it.
Right, true.
When you see all that tile run, it's a wonder it's held up this long,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of big tile runs through there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think all these old mains should still be...
Left.
Well, and that's what we wanted to hear,
Just as
yeah.
another relief
use them as long as you can.
Especially when you go across the road with the one and be completely away from it, not even disturbed it, a lot of times you get too close, you move that dirt and you screw them up. This way, you're not driving on them, you're not messing with them.
That's what this was, the preliminary engineering report, we need to hear those things.
That's right, exactly.
That's exactly what we want.
So,
Moving it to the west side?
do you have enough to go back and...
Oh, absolutely.
Is that the consensus, like that one on that branch B, that runs north, move it to the west side of the road?
And put it in the...
That is the main, and the road gets there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the existing tile is the main and branch B actually together.
Coming in there.
Both, through that.
But I'd be happy just...
Yeah, so I guess it's a matter of,
Well, the one good thing about the main, or the one that's on the north, on the angle, once you get up to that point, you're gonna have 3 tile lines that are, they may not be big enough, but at least you're gonna have a 48-inch to get it into the start. I think you'll be surprised how much good that'll do,
I
just
do too.
because it's gonna move that quicker. Your bottleneck is really that stretch right in there, trying to feed all these tiles in there.
exactly.
That's what I'm asking, are you gonna put a big equalizer in that fence line then, for all these tiles to dump into?
They'll all come in there in a junction.
Be a junction almost, won't it?
Yeah, well, that,
Yeah, you're saying of all that pressure coming in there onto a 48, what's it gonna do?
Use the old one that dumps into that.
And in this case, where they're both gonna be parallel, you could tie those together, so there's equalization that way too, to kind of take pressure off that.
Rick,
I don't know.
Question.
Yeah.
One is, to clarify, if you go with the 1-inch coefficient on the east side of the main, are you gonna, that 36 that comes through there now is gonna stay?
no, well,
That's going, you're gonna use that same path for the new...
well, you're talking where it goes under the road?
Mhm.
No.
For the 1-inch, we probably move south and come out
And
in
then
the
how
ditch.
far off the ditch floor are you? You right at the bottom?
The outlet pipe would be about between 1 and 2 feet off the bottom.
I think it would, because the one that he repaired out there, when I
Yeah.
climbed on top of the bulkhead, it's above the water line a little ways.
And we
but-
might be a little higher than that, actually, we'll look at
And
that.
I think the key there, Brett, is they need, and Doug said that too, then, when this is done, he said, down the ways, there's a little ways that ditch needs to be cleaned, that's screwing it up as much as
I
anything.
think
Yeah.
you're planning to go by
Okay,
an hour and two.
is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, and we're looking at more areas too.
So you add that in with it, I think that all would make a big difference.
Mhm. Yeah, three
A lot of coyotes doing that.
Because it's fairly deep, when you stand on top of that bulkhead and look down, it's deep enough, I didn't wanna fall off that thing.
No, yeah, yeah. And I guess, I'll make the statement, see if anybody objects, I think we go with to bid letting with the 1-inch coefficient. Anybody have a problem with that? I mean, it's...
Well, I think you get them both, but I think we'll end up with the 1 inch.
Well, we can bid both, or bid one.
What do you guys, are you happy with the 1 inch?
Anybody even want a half inch?
Personally, I don't think you even mess with half.
All right.
To the point, anymore, we have such big rainfalls,
Yeah.
that when you need that tile, it's when you need the inch.
Well, they might get better bids, if they know they're bidding on the 1, they'll
Yeah,
bid
the half
exactly
inch
where they
just
want.
makes it drowned out
Yeah,
in 4 days instead of 8.
We're getting away with
Yeah.
a lot this year.
Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah.
I think we
I mean,
really...
barely.
You had to say that, Steve, it is June, you had to say that, didn't you? I'm coming to your house,
I'm not
we're
gonna win
doing
a lot this year.
You better knock a little harder.
Well, I think the other point I'd make is that if you go to a half inch on this outlet, it's not a very long run. If there's more improvements to be made down the road someday, and you wanna go to a 1 inch upstream,
Yeah, good point.
you've just botched yourself.
Yeah, you just-
If this was being done on the top end, it's one thing, but when you're at your main base, you better know what
This is
you're...
your outlet from
Do
now
it
on.
right the first
All
time.
right, I think that's what you do,
I
Rick.
think we've reached the point where we need to accept and approve, place on file the engineer's preliminary report.
Or are we gonna continue?
Well,
You wanna continue?
we're gonna have to do a different one, because he's gotta come back with a different plan.
Yeah, you gotta move that over.
But I don't,
That could be
I
in the
mean, that could be
final
part of the final design.
Okay,
We don't, I mean, the
So you-
cost is not gonna vary
You can,
much.
all you need is say move forward with the 1 inch coefficient.
Yes,
With the items discussed
Yes.
at the
Since
meeting.
this says preliminary,
that's,
Okay.
yeah, you,
Okay.
then you do the final plan and those.
All right, that
the
makes
final
sense.
plan.
sounds good.
one thing,
Excuse me, and maybe go farther up on that main.
On
On the
the one that
beach.
goes north?
Yeah.
The one that goes
And I'll look at that, and way take
What
it go
close
just
is that?
up to that sub 406, because that's not very far. And we're on the west side of the road now.
Right.
So that'd make it easier. I'll look at
That way you still get the message going under a road, 'cause you're there in one spot.
You're the majority of the acres up there anyway, right?
He's talking about this one.
He's talking this one here, isn't he?
To me,
Give us talk over here. He wants this main bigger. This, but the other guy's
I was gonna ask.
See, that's what
Steve, did you show him which one you were talking about on there, so we know which one we're talking about? Is it the angle one or the straight one?
We're getting in probably to a new report if we do too much of that. Yeah.
I'm just damn sure you know what we're talking
Let's get this
about.
done this fall, or...
What Dan said.
Your dad knew.
He is talking about what's across here,
If you did want to go up farther someday, a lot of them
But we at least get up to here.
Exactly.
At least get a I do agree with you there.
And the cost of this,
It's minimal.
well,
Where you're already
we're
here.
almost the only ones that come, we're gonna pay for that, okay?
A lot of that.
Yeah.
But that distance is,
Most of that is
if you already put money into this, why wouldn't you wanna go at least to the point? Then you got a big junction there.
Or even if you dropped it to a 36 from that point to that point or something.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
get
that's
something
true.
bigger.
Right.
Get something bigger in there.
'Cause that's so flat.
Yeah, it's just like, you could probably go 36 on that very easily, but at least it would get you a good opening here to get these trucks together.
Yeah, I've had guys out fixing holes here and there, and I showed them that promoted intake, and he said...
They can't believe trying to shove that much in there.
And
Just can't
he
take it.
throws a little piece of that, and he starts...
It goes down.
No, it's not plugged, it's flat.
That's what it is.
I think we need to move on here.
All right, I'll make the motion.
Approval and acceptance of the preliminary engineering report.
So, Rick.
I'll make the motion to approve and accept the preliminary engineering report on district number 6.
So, you know, this can probably be 32 or something.
Thank you, Rick.
Or you see what...
I'll second.
Yeah.
But the point is to get it to this point.
That'd be great.
You got a second?
No, I need a
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept and
Yeah, yeah.
approve the preliminary engineering report on DD 6, branch B. Do I hear any other discussion? We understand this is preliminary, Rick's gonna clean it up, we'll go from there. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Glad you guys had time to come in today, 'cause a lot of this helps. It makes our lives a little better if you talk about it now instead of later.
Yeah.
And Steve, we'll get that dirt moved. I'm working on Doug.
Let's get tear into these things.
I gotta go.
You got one very much, do it right.
Well, I mean, you're there, get it done right.
You're not gonna get the benefit of it all if you don't get it up. You have trouble. I know you can do it,
You
but...
think that Pressler farm will drain a little faster with this in?
Yeah, about 4 o'clock, probably falling.
There was so many angles, and then you got coming straight down, well, our water can't get in there. It's full.
It always gets, it just sits and sits and sits in there.
Oh, sure, like I said, it's out there for
See, at least you have
100
a
days.
ditch for an outlet, so it can be fixed. You know, we get up there by Prairie Creek, and you drain into the Prairie Creek. There ain't no improvement, you can put all the big tile you want in there. The creek is so flat, and out in the yonder, you don't have a...
This will help a lot, just to get your own,
Well,
really your own main.
when you look at 2004, it's been a long
Well,
time.
you take a 26 and
Oh, you got
30 and another 27 and whatever and dump them all in there, you try to put it through a 36, it just don't work.
No pattern tile.
Well, I kinda wondered on that compressor place there, it must be higher than my
You
phone.
got a list here, and sign them.
Yeah, I see it.
Everybody sign on this one, too?
Intake spouting up there about a foot and a half.
Like a geyser. Did we get a list back with the names?
I kinda wondered.
Paul, is there a list laying there with names on it? Goes back to Nope, maybe we got them all picked
Get it
up.
out there and shut the valve.
Come on, Brian, you holding that back in the corner. Thanks, guys.
The intake was a fountain.
Had 3 of these today, this has been a record.
Yeah.
They're all, this is the right one.
Yeah.
put it out.
Do wait till more gets back, we have one more drainage.
Here we, water's an issue.
They water pay. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, this is, what's his brother, the other Dwayne is his brother. And which one bought $30,000? So Wayne, and he's gonna have a few. I always wanna I forget one, and I get them mixed up, I thought you were, I couldn't remember which one bought $30, then I started thinking it was the one that didn't have the health, it's good. Right, maybe? Had some health issues too?
No,
Just Dwayne, that's what it is. He's gotta be liking that house.
For me, it's one.
Location wise. So my question is, how can they people in better locations and build it? I mean,
Me can't get a better location.
every time I think about, well, where's he gonna go and get that location back?
No, he's got his lot, but...
Is it good, in your opinion?
No, we still have one more item to do, more to the job, but I think it's very simple. We have to approve a pay estimate for District 125, $60,217, pay estimate number 1. Rick, any discussion on that?
Rick better explain this one,
Yeah.
we went over this earlier.
Okay, this is for the materials for DD 125. We're going through Gary Nave's ground right now out there, Denver Underground's doing it. We bid the materials and the labor, the installation separately. Now, the goal with that is to save some money, get more contractors interested.
Yeah, they don't have such a big bond.
Right, because otherwise, yeah, they have to bond for the pipe too, which it's expensive. Now, here's what we've run into already. The first pay request from Cretex, they included a billing for the inserts they put in the lift holes. They included a cost for the guard to go on the apron at the end, that's incidental. They included cost for the bolt kit that holds that guard on, so...
They're gonna get paid right away, don't they?
Yeah, so I did the pay estimate, and that's what you see, and then we did our usual letter recommending payment to you, and then I also then did a letter to Cretex pointing out these things, and that in the spec book it calls them incidental. So that, yeah, don't charge us for these, they're incidental items. So,
Tried, but we're gonna catch it.
you're right, we're trying to nip it in the bud early here. It seems, on the DD2, the job with so many issues, they build for an extra 600 feet of 60-inch pipe, and it's like, holy crap, that's
Well, and that's why
ridiculous.
you gotta,
That's why we review each one of them, yeah. So we're trying to nip this in the bud right away. There shouldn't be much else that they can get incidental, other than they may keep the plugs, they may keep billing for those, and we'll keep crossing them out. So this is the first pay estimate for the materials on the job.
So these have already been delivered?
Yes, they're on site, quite a few of them are in the ground. They're like 1,500 or 1,600 feet, I think. I haven't checked the stationing real recently.
And have we been looking at every single joint?
Yep, yes, we have. We're looking at all of them. We've got
We had some
very...
pictures, didn't you? Show me pictures last time.
We've been emailing or texting pictures to Trish to keep her informed, so that if someone comes in asking about progress, she'll know where they're at, what they're doing. Yeah, so it's available to you if you want to check on things. Denver's good about it.
That's one thing,
Yeah.
Denver has been good in the past.
Yes, they have.
So while we roar, we have pay estimate number 1 to Cretex for materials only. Do I hear a motion to approve that pay estimate? Motion by Mort.
I'll second.
Second by Rick.
Somebody needs to sign, one of those guys sign that?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion
So,
carried.
Rick, or you want Carl
I'll
sign
have
that? Chairman?
the chairperson.
Good deal. Oh.
I think it takes care of drainage. You got something else?
I
Rick?
know, I think that's it, as far as updates. I'm hoping to hear, and maybe Chris has got a source to check, if those other 2 ag well closure projects, if the funds were allowed in the funding bill. When I talked to Mike Borland with the ag department, they were in there, but we don't know if they got pulled out.
How many wells are we talking about?
One of them is 4 wells, it's on DD2, it's gonna be lateral M. It's, from the west end of DD2 ditch, it's about a mile or 2 east on the north side. It catches some of Trish's family, ground there,
Okay.
a little bit.
And then the other one?
The other one is Virgil.
Oh, Burgess, we're back on Burgess.
Yes.
We just got him straightened up.
Yes, and that was, Jerry, I was down here, and Jerry knows, but we did get Yemlin finally to...
Got in there and fix that?
Yes.
Good deal.
Yes, 'cause that was just...
Who was that one for, William?
Yeah, Virgil Williams, the tile that hadn't gotten hooked up, at the
I
end
got
of the
another thing I
project.
need to talk to you about on that one when we go
Okay.
into closed session.
Okay.
So I'll take care of that.
Okay,
Not a big deal, but
okay, very good.
nothing quite as busy as we did this morning.
Anything else in drainage? We're done with drainage, right?
So I move we go out of drainage?
I hear a motion from Rick, second from Mort to go out of drainage.
Oh, these are yours,
Say
Mort.
aye.
Mort, you're supposed to sign those.
Motion carried, we're out of drainage, back in general session, thank you very much, Rick.
Thank you.
Rick, send Peggy back in, we got one more item in general session.
Other business?
You have to sign those too.
Okay?
Did I get two more?
Get you.
No, there were paper clips.
Oh, I'm sorry, kiddo.
General assistance report, we did.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a Chris Rudd question, I just want to make them aware that I'm nervous, and I'd like to see if I can spread some nervousness.
I'll be back.
Yeah, I know you will. Come on, we
Got a day's pay in order?
ain't done with it.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, yeah.
There's some of us in there for a signature.
Well, shoot.
All right.
I don't know where that contract went, I think that propane contract, that was signed.
If you think something is taking too long, tell me, okay? 'Cause it's a matter of setting priorities. We can crank something in a hurry. If it's the priority. Some of these were set aside because it was not a priority, but no,
We're at, well, I think we need to get these ag well ones. All the paperwork for all this stuff is just, it's such a nightmare to get it
yeah.
on time, but she keeps getting pushed farther back and back, and then, get these comments coming back. She's so damn busy all the time, she's about killing us, so.
You guys are so active. Yeah.
And I think at some point it will get better and then slow down, but it seems like we haven't got there yet.
I think within the next year.
But I think hopefully getting some of these old things cleaned up, that would help a lot.
Yep.
So, okay.
Yep, you
Okay.
bet, thank you.
Who's Kathy? Just,
Yes, who's Kathy in? This is Peggy.
I did not do that.
I think he did it.
Look on fault, coming off fault.
Shoes are...
Okay, that's all right. Oh, hi. Oh, I'm good.
Anything else this week?
Okay.
I might. Huh?
Yes, I was just gonna say you were ready. All right, bye-bye.
Okay, so we should meet for fall.
I'm not sure, that's what I want to spend 30 seconds on. Since
Should we get on Kathy?
I want to make sure that Rick's in here. Our letting, when we set it, we've had, 3 working days since we set the letting. I mean, all we've had is rain, and we have contractors that tell us they are looking for fall work. And then now, when we called them last week, after they had 3 out of 10 days, we started to go, oh, maybe not.
On that Wednesday, we got that hearing, so you almost got, I'm gonna be in class.
No.
Okoboji, I think I
We
can
may,
make 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I can make it back.
extend the,
I probably should.
at least, movement date.
I just think it shows them that we're showing interest. I mean, I think just by being there, even though it's not something we vote on, I think they were very good about the way they presented. They weren't, well, yeah, but, we've had worse. And there was good points. I think Mike Shaw had some good points, about the valuations and stuff.
Prior to opening bids.
I think it's a lot of responsibility from those two commissioners. And the problem is we're mixing city with rural. That's where the problem is.
We're warned, you getting covered.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. How are you?
I'm good.
We've been waiting all morning for you, Kathy.
You have not, I've
Now
been
we lost
very,
Rick.
very busy.
Brisk conversations this morning. Did you get yours all signed, Mark? Did you give them to her already? Oh, I gave them to her. Okay, she's coming back. She's
We have
coming
an
back.
item before us to accept and place on file general assistance quarterly report ending December 31st, 2014. Front and center, Kathy, go for it.
Well, yeah, actually, we've got second and third quarter here, yeah.
There you go.
For Harlan.
There's one for Harlan too.
Deck, Harlan's desk.
There are no expenditures, occurring either quarter that would be unexpected items. We assisted in both quarters with rent payments, utility payments, as well as funeral services through general assistance. Through general assistance, and we're within budget, so things are good under GA.
Couple funerals, huh?
Yeah.
And that happens?
Yep.
One at least. Or no, that was two.
When we come back with the fourth quarter, we'll try to do a comparison to the previous year, because there are some of the areas that we've had, a couple instances of assistance where we had none the previous year, so.
A little bit out of whack.
Definite increase in requests for utilities and rent, over the past couple months, consistent, I know, with what Veterans Affairs has seen as well, being the same.
It's very
so.
comparable,
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that we accept the place and file our general assistance quarterly report for the period ending December 31st, 2014 and March 31st, 2015.
A motion by Jerry, do I hear a second to accept the
Second.
report? Rick, do I hear a second? Other discussion concerning the quarterly report? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you, Kathy.
Now, these are names on them.
Yep, these are new
She's got that one back, yeah.
Better give Harlan that.
Better get these out of this drawer.
Yeah. So a quick question before you leave our mental health advocate situation. Nobody seems to know what's going on. Had the same problem at CSS. We've got a simple, inexpensive process right now. What's it gonna happen? You see what's gonna happen to us, or you think we'll have to?
We were supposed to have, I mean, though it's supposed to be separate from the region, I know that Bob Lincoln, our administrator, was supposed to be getting some guidance out to the counties. We haven't seen that yet, yeah.
Well,
No,
I mean,
I
that
have-
throws it for Peggy, I suppose, when you make it a county employee, then that enters into all kinds of other issues.
Yeah, Kathy and I discussed it,
Okay.
and we haven't put it on the agenda for your approval yet,
Okay.
because we're waiting for these issues to
All
be
right.
taken care of.
Yeah, we're waiting for some
But
feedback
you're
from
gonna
the
address our
region.
concerns before we get to a point where we just have to, I mean, hopefully somebody will listen to our concerns on the issues. too.
Right, I have, last week had, some time with the, disability coordinators in both Pocahontas and Wright County, just to see what
What they're thinking?
they're thinking, just because our, you know, our advocate is shared between the three counties.
Right.
And so, you know, I believe she is interested in continuing, in her role as advocate. So, you know, to be able to continue as we are, you know, I think that the three counties are gonna have to have some discussion.
Okay.
It would probably be easiest for her if she were employed through one county.
That's what I wondered if that was what we're gonna get down to.
Right, because otherwise, as a
Just
county
like we do
employee,
with
she would have,
sanitary
right,
and-
she would have to submit payroll in all three counties, and I think that would become...
That's too much for her, she would
Yep.
be hard on her.
Yeah.
All right, we'll let you two work on it then.
Yeah,
We'll wait till you get
so-
some better ideas where we're
Yeah,
at.
so we are, I
Appreciate
have that, and I know that Jen, Sheehan from Wright County took the lead to reach out to Alice and just kind of discuss some of the
Right.
things that we had
So she
initially
didn't get
talked
in a
about on
panic
Friday.
mode, you know, 'cause
Right.
I don't want Alice upset.
Yep.
Okay, you're working on it.
Well, so we
Good.
are, yep, we're already talking about it, and...
She's good, yeah.
Waiting to make sure that the, you know, regional system doesn't see anything different, because I would imagine there would be a slight, I mean, even if we continue sharing, you know, there's gonna be at least a slight budget impact, because whatever county she would be employed through, you know, she's gonna now
Yes.
qualify for benefits and some other things perhaps prorated that she
Yeah.
wasn't previously eligible to get, so yeah.
So, things we gotta work out again.
Yep, definitely.
Okay,
Thank you, Kathy.
we'll have to come back with some options.
Yep,
All right.
okay, thanks.
Paul, you had said you had things you'd like to discuss with us.
Yep. We have a bid letting next Wednesday. When we set the letting, we talked to contractors that were optimistic, and that was roughly 3 weeks ago. that they would fill fall schedules and whatever. And in light of the rainfalls, Ben talked to several of them last week, and the optimism has turned to pessimism. And at this point, we're weighing the options of whether or not we just proceed with the letting and see, or if the one thing we could do is extend the letting.